Welcome back to the best division in football with your boys Awthentik and The Beard. The gang is in the building. Shout out to all of y'all showing up, man, after 3 embarrassing losses for the Cowboys, the Commanders, and our New York Giants over this weekend. Thursday night, the New York Giants definitely struggled against the San Francisco 49ers. I know we could kind of smile a little bit seeing the Commanders and seeing the Cowboys take an L. Unfortunately, the Philadelphia Eagles did not finish that 4-leg parlay for us and give us 4 losses in a row in the division so we could all have a celebration. Today, we're going to talk about those 3 losses in depth. We're also going to go over this Philadelphia Eagles game just a little bit. But without further ado, man, let me bring in the best co-host in the country to the best television show not on TV. My brother, your brother, The Beard one time is in the building. How you living, fam?
Man, I feel fantastic. My team scored 70 points on Sunday. I mean, like, you know, who would have ever thought that?
This the Beard's move right here. Yeah, y'all got definitely dog walked by them Buffalo Bills, man. I told you that defense was something serious, bro.
It was, man. Listen, it was brutal. You know, like I joke about the 70 points that my team scored because I that would have been the way I would have loved to have come in here today. But, you know, we celebrated a field goal. That was about it.
You know what's wild about that is, like, I see a lot on Twitter when people are, like, joking, and they be like, you know, so how y'all picking this game? There's a lot of content creators that'll be like, tell me your thoughts on, you know, the score prediction that. And they'll be like, yeah, you know, 70-0 New York Giants, kind of just joking around. And the Miami Dolphins went out there and put up 70 points, man. Like,
that was absolutely that was fun to watch.
I was running some victory laps today, man. You know, I was pulling up some old tweets.
I saw,
especially that old one, you know, with Dan Orlovsky that he retweeted of mine where I said Tua was the most, you know, the best anticipation quarterback in the NFL right now. And man, I'm looking extremely right on that after that performance we saw from him.
Do you remember some of the backlash that we received when we talked about Tua, like in our top 10 sort of situations?
Yeah.
Like I had Tua pretty high, and everybody was like, Tua. Like,
I think you allowed people to kind of talk you off Tua being in the top 10 because I was one of those people too. You know, I'd say like about a year ago, I was kind of like, I don't know about Tua, man, but studied some tape, man. Shout out to JT O'Sullivan. I'm going to feature one of his clips on today's show, too. Just putting in that work, putting in the grind, man, and looking at the tape. And you can see it, man. Tua is out here just completely balling. The shuffle pass that was on the goal line. Bro, Mike McDaniels
that's the Harlem Globetrotters on the football field.
That was beautiful. Just gave him the little no-look, Magic Johnson kind of vibe.
They put up 70 without Waddle.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy, man. But, yeah, definitely an interesting week of football. We got a little bit more now, you know, over the sample size that we always talk about over here now. 3 games in, it's getting a little larger here. So we're looking at these teams. Dallas Cowboys kind of came back down to earth. I think the New York Giants are kind of who we thought they were a little bit after that performance against the 49ers. I see a lot of people saying, like, oh, nobody picked us to beat San Fran. But, man, y'all know I hold the receipts. I saw a bunch of receipts of everybody talking about, oh, we're going to compete against this team, that team, and the third. And that definitely was not the case on Sunday, man, for my team or for your team as well.
Yeah, it was. I think for us, there was no competing. It felt like at some point, you know, we're going to obviously dive into these games, but it was. I think when we were talking back and forth about, you know, the title for tonight's show, I think the humbling aspect of that title really hits home for me as a Commanders fan, because it's easy to get caught. I think all of us, all these teams in the NFC East, it's easy to get caught up in the hype of your own team, you know, when you're performing well. So it's like, you know, you thought, okay, we're down in the half. Oh, yeah, listen, we're a second half team.
We'll battle back. We battled back 21-3 last week. We can handle this. This is a good 16 points.
There is no coming back. But, you know, we do want to thank each and every one of you for coming back here to Awthentik and The Beard. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We see you guys. Shout out to everybody who's watching us across all the platforms, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and, of course, right here on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell. The chat was rocking on Monday, man. Shout out to the chat on Monday. Giant Overreaction. That was a great show, as always, sir. Got to give you a big shout out to Awthentik and the chat. That was a good one. I enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed my Soldier Boy that
was good. That was good. You was active. You was definitely active in the chat, man. All right, let's quickly go off into this the game that was just on Monday night. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles versus the Bucs. We'll quickly go over that one, quickly go over the Dallas game, and then I really want to get to the Commanders game and the Giants game. I got some new nuggets. Giants fans, stick around for this last segment. I'm telling you, I got a bomb. I'm going to drop a nugget that is Absolutely unacceptable for the New York Giants. So stick around. But first, we're going to get off to the Eagles that travel to Tampa Baker to take on Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. All right, man, let's talk about this one, man. The Eagles defeat the Tampa Baker Bucks 25-11 on Monday night. Jalen Hurts is now 20-1 in his last 21 starts. I mean, come on, dog. That's kind of ridiculous. The Bucks punted the ball on every one of their first quarter drives in this game. The Eagles dominated the fourth quarter with 2 lengthy drives. You really don't get to see this too much. The Bucks only had 1 drive in the fourth quarter. The Eagles dominated fourth quarter time of possession. They had 1 drive go 11 plays for 55 yards, 5 minutes and 12 seconds, ended in a field goal. And then they ran the clock out to end the game. 16 plays, 10 runs, 68 yards. The drive was 9 minutes and 22 seconds. And that's how that game ended. DeAndre Swift was a big part of that. 16 rushes for 130 whole damn yards, 8.1 yards per carry. That's the Beard's man right there. He's been talking about DeAndre Swift for 2 seasons now. Excellent performance by him. He's looking like the best running back in football through 3 games right now. Philly dominated the time of possession, 38-55 to 21-05. They ran the ball 40 times for 201 yards. Not a fantastic game from Jalen Hurts, but he did have that nice throw on that first touchdown drive. 23 of 37 for 277 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 1 passing touchdown. He did have the 2 interceptions in this game with QBR of 62.5. It was good to see A.J. Brown get back on track in this one. 9 receptions for 131 on 14 targets. You saw the one of Jalen Hurts' interception came from Reed Blankenship. Awesome interception, the way he jumped that route. Jalen Hurts didn't even see him on that one.
Oh, Baker.
Oh, Baker. I'm sorry about that. Baker didn't see him on that one. The Bucs really had no chance in this game because they did not have a running game at all. And Baker, I always talk about this on this show. There are 2 types of quarterbacks, man, and the guys I put in the elite category are the kind of quarterbacks that don't absolutely need a rushing attack. I kind of put Jalen Hurts in that category because he makes all running backs better. Talked about this on the last show with Josh Allen and with Patrick Mahomes. Now, I think Baker Mayfield's one of those guys that we know he needs a running game, and the Bucs just did not have it in this one. Rashad White, 14 rushes for 38 yards. I know that's also your boy too. That's not a good look.
Yeah, but listen, I didn't stress him this week.
You didn't stress him this week.
I had a bad feeling.
You did have a bad feeling about him this week. The Bucs were outrushed 201 yards to 41 yards. Baker Mayfield was 15 of 25 for 146, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. QBR of 34.5. That is not good for your boy Baker right there. Mike Evans had 5 receptions for 60 yards on the day, 1 touchdown, but you did notice a couple of drops in this game. I forget who it was. I think it was Shannon Sharp that was kind of copping for him because, it was Keyshawn Johnson on Undisputed this morning, talking about he was kind of like out of position, leaning backwards as he jumped up for that one that was on the sideline.
He makes those catches 9 out of 10 times.
He normally makes those catches. Then you had the one around the pylon that was a good throw from Baker Mayfield. Ended up being dropped, had a hand in the way there. So not Mike Evans' best game, but 60 yards and 1 touch on 10 targets, not too terrible. Turnovers and penalties in this one, 2 turnovers from each team, which I think that's what kind of kept the Bucs hanging around in this one early. 27 first downs for the Philadelphia Eagles to just 12 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So really outclassed in this one. The scoreboard could have been a bit different on this one if you ask me, man. If Jalen Hurts comes out there, plays clean football, this game's not even close. But it was close all the way up into that fourth quarter, and the Philadelphia Eagles dominate with time of possession and just running the ball in this one. So for me, I think the Eagles are back on top now as far as like the top team in the NFC East. What did you see in this matchup?
I mean, obviously we have to also remember Jalen Hurts' flu game. So, we'll give him a little slack on those 2 interceptions.
They said that a lot of the players on the team were dealing with some sicknesses and whatnot.
So for me, Philadelphia answered a lot of my questions in this game. Obviously getting Blankenship back. You talked about the interception, getting him back from injury from last week, because one of the big things was they had been giving up a ton of yards, especially through the air. So getting Blankenship back was obviously a huge, support system for that secondary. You saw the interception like Awthentik talked about. I thought their run defense played better. There was guys making that defensive line for Philadelphia is so good.
Yeah.
So good. Now let's talk about this. The trenches. This is why I like Philadelphia so much. I like Philadelphia obviously because of Jalen Hurts. I've been a big Jalen Hurts fan since the day he got drafted, right?
Yeah.
And I will tell you that I also love Philadelphia because I'm a trench guy. You know what I'm saying? I am a guy that lives in the trenches.
Yep.
I talk about it all the time. I like that
tight
sort
end
of
in
football.
high school as well.
Yeah, it's so look, offensive line like that. There's the one screenshot, right, where it shows it's from like the behind DeAndre Swift, and it's like Moses parting the Red Sea, and then in the tweet it's like, how many yards you getting here? Like that,
Right.
It's literally like that's how good the offensive line is. But that's being said, Jalen Hurts was under some pressure last night.
He was.
That
He made some good throws.
That touchdown pass that he threw to Cephas.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, bruh.
Took a shot.
That was, and they're like, well, there's a difference between pressure and this and that. Listen, he stood in that pocket. He took a shot, and he threw the ball. Like, if you were watching the broadcast, they talked about it. Like, he wasn't even heading in that direction. But
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts threw it there because, that's where he had to throw it.
Yeah,
and the
that was
wide
the open
receiver
window.
just turns around, turns his hips, touchdown. I mean, it was just, at that point, I tweeted, I was like, Jalen Hurts he's
I
really
did see
good.
that tweet too. I saw that tweet and I was like,
Hurts
man,
so
that was
good.
a good throw.
Yeah, I mean,
Great throw. And
was just,
what you're talking about with the pressure too, right? Just real quick, like he was in the pocket for like 4 seconds on that throw, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he knows he's about to take a shot. He's gonna get hit. You can see the offensive line starts to kind of let up a little bit, and he's about to get smacked. He just stands in there and delivers, man. You just got to commend the quarterbacks that do that because you're putting your body on the line there. You could definitely get injured on those type of throws. And Jalen Hurts just standing there delivering. I loved it, man.
Yeah, because most quarterbacks, maybe not most quarterbacks, but a lot of quarterbacks, they're going to react a certain way to the pressure that doesn't enable them to make that throw. That's
Right.
the big difference. And so, like, Jalen Hurts is obviously doing that. And then, the third downs, 10 of 16 on third downs, bro. Like I would kill for that in the game against Buffalo. So 10 of 16 on third downs. And everybody wants to talk about the tush push, but listen.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to talk about some of that too.
You gotta figure a way to stop it. If you can't stop it, I'm gonna run it all day. Like,
Right.
I love it. And listen, they run the damn ball. They run the damn ball 40
RTDB.
times. 40 times.
40 times, bro. You gotta love it.
And
For
I mean,
200.
look, Jalen Hurts is still putting up 272 yards in the air, and they could run the ball 40 times and pass for 272 yards. Like, it's the ideal offense that I think me and you just want to see. One game, maybe.
Facts,
you know
man.
what I'm saying?
Maybe one game, possibly.
That's
the
all I
beautiful
really
thing
wanna
about
see.
Philly, right, is they can beat you in a multitude of ways, right? And when things get ugly, they don't panic. They go to what works for them. If the passing game's not working, they're going to run the rock. If they need to be balanced and do both of them, they'll do that. If they need to beat you through the air, they will do that. So these first 3 games, a lot of people looking at Philly and they're going, oh, I don't know. I hear it in spaces all the time. They don't look like the team from last year. Nah, they really do look like the team from last year because they're finding ways to win games across the board.
And they did it. What's one of the biggest things that Philadelphia was best in football at last year, especially with Jalen Hurts?
I want to say everything. Running the ball for sure. Protection up front. Their defensive line, 70-plus sacks, getting after the quarterback. Am I missing anything?
Red zone.
Oh, my God. Red zone. A maniac.
Yes.
Straight
and they
up.
did this. They did this in this game, and they were 1 of 5 in
Crazy.
the red zone. We're going to
That's
talk
crazy.
about another team today that
Yeah,
had
4 of 5.
similar stats in the red zone, but completely different outcome. So it just
Facts.
goes to show you that, like, there are things every week so far this year that the Eagles are normally good at that they probably didn't necessarily, match their ability to be in that field.
Yeah.
But they still come away with a win. And that's the
what's most
definition of a championship team.
Yeah, man, very resilient ball club. What do you think about the Bucs before we move on from this? Do you think the Bucs can still be a contender, maybe win that division, get to the playoffs possibly, or do you think this kind of put them back where they belong?
I think they're going to be around in the thick of things for the playoffs. Like,
I'm with you.
I like Baker Mayfield. I've always spoke highly of Baker Mayfield. He's a guy that if he's not going to be a Jalen Hurts, a Patrick Mahomes, a Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, then you need your quarterback to be like Baker Mayfield.
That's a good point, man.
Like, I really like that. And still, Mike Evans is still one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. Their defense is not bad. They got some holes here and there, and I love their coaching staff. I think their coaching staff is really good. So, and then that division, you don't know what's going to happen week in and week out in that NFC South. So I think they're going to be in the mix of things in the end of the season.
Big facts. I'm definitely right there with you. All right, let's keep it pushing, man. Let's go right into this Cowboys game. They travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. All right, Cowboys fans, y'all not getting no flowers today. I can guarantee you that.
The flower shop's closed.
The flower shop is closed right now. Y'all definitely not going to get no flowers. We're going to give you a big bag of garbage on your front porch here, man. The Cardinals defeated the Cowboys. It doesn't even sound right saying it right now. 28-16. It was Jonathan Gannon's first win as a head coach. The Cardinals scored on their first 5 possessions in this one. Cowboys got down early in this one, man, at the half, 21-10. I was talking to the Beard about this off air. You know, the Cowboys in the Jets game, they were up at the half 18-10, and they went into the second half, took care of business, really just took that spread and really got up by like 2-3 scores and didn't even make it a contest. In this game, it was almost 18-10 at the half in favor of the Cardinals, which I thought would have been perfect for the Dallas Cowboys to be able to come back. Instead, they allowed a late field goal before the half ended to go down 21-10 at the half, and I think that really was the kryptonite for them for the rest of this game, trying to battle that 2-score lead that the Cardinals had throughout. Now, we talked about this game being one you would simulate in Madden. Shout out to my homie Voch one time.
Simulation did not go as planned.
This one you simulate. I don't know if you know about this, Beard, because you haven't played the new Maddens like that, right? But you could simulate it on like a play-by-play basis, right? So you can put it on like fast speed, super fast speed, and you can watch the simulation as it goes along, right? And as it starts to get a little out of hand and you be like, man, they're doing me kind of dirty, you could be like, I'm just going to turn off the console. Let's reset this one back and try to re-simulate it, and probably things will go my way. Well, the Cowboys couldn't do that in this game. Second half, man, Dak Prescott was definitely struggling. They were favored by 12 points in this game. The Cardinals, this is one of the most surprising statistics for me. The Cardinals are now 7-1 in their last 8 games versus the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how that's a thing. That does not make any sense. 2 straight wins, too. Cowboys entered the game with 7 forced turnovers. They had 0 in this game. I talked about this on our preview show. I said, yo, stop James Conner. They definitely could not do that. 14 rushes for 98 yards and 1 touchdown. And the Cardinals, their game plan was, we're going to run right at Micah Parsons. I think all the teams in the NFC East that are going to end up playing the Cowboys again, which is all of us, take notes. You can run the rock right at Micah Parsons. Beard, I told you this a bunch of times on that last show. If there is a weakness on that Dallas Cowboys defense, it's against the run. That's where their weakness is, right up the middle. And you could see James Conner definitely had a day here. The Cowboys gave up 180 rushing yards in just the first half of this game. Dak Prescott was not great. He was 25 of 40 for 249 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And those stats look a lot better than the way that the game went. He was sacked just 2 times, QBR of 40.8. And this reminds me of another quarterback that I felt like struggled when he was down on the scoreboard, Jameis Winston. I've said this to the Beard a bunch of times. Jameis Winston is a pretty decent quarterback when he's got the lead. When you got the lead, he can run the ball, do those things well and whatnot. But as soon as you get Jameis Winston down 2 scores, it's a wrap for him. And with the Cardinals up by 2 scores late in this game, Dak Prescott, everything on the line, throws an interception. And that was his first interception of the year. And I saw Stephen A. Smith talked about this today. He said since last season, Dak Prescott has 10 touchdowns and 7 interceptions when the Cowboys are trailing, dating back to last season. So they got to find a way that when the urgency is there and you got to put the points on the board, Dak Prescott's going to have to find a way to be able to put these points on the board without turning the ball over. And Tony Pollard was extremely consistent, man. I looked up a couple of nuggets here, man. Tony Pollard, 23 rushes for 122 yards, back to his regular yards per carry that he had last season at 5.3 yards per carry. Now, Tony Pollard is 6th in the NFL in first-half rushing attempts. He's 1st in the NFL in second-half rushing attempts. I do like this new philosophy that Mike McCarthy has brought as the play caller to the Dallas Cowboys, right? But when Dak Prescott gets behind, this is what we always talk about when we talk about RTDB, right? Like, how many points can you get behind before you got to abandon the run? And I think that the Cowboys didn't necessarily abandon the run, but Dak Prescott didn't look like the quarterback that could really take over this game and get them back in it. So for me, I got to put the onus on this one on Mike McCarthy. Can't go without talking about the penalties. I know you're going to talk about the penalties. The penalties were egregious in this game. Shout out to Monique, who's always talking about the penalties in the chat and on my Twitter. Cowboys had 13 penalties. 3 of them were not accepted, so they really had 16 penalties on the day. And the big number here was 1 for 5 in the red zone. If there was a day, I told y'all not getting no flowers today, Cowboys fans. I'm sorry. And this is the last thing. I'm going to toss it over to the Beard. If there was a day that you was going to sit down CeeDee Lamb on the bench. This was the day.
I was a week early, man. I was a week early.
You was a week early. Well, how you feeling about this one, Beard? You know, I know you're going to give it to these Cowboys fans. They're always in our comment section talking about the Beard ain't never giving us no flowers. The Beard and his hate towards the Cowboys, his biased takes that he got for his Commanders. What's your thoughts on this game?
It's a weird game, to be perfectly honest with you. When you really break down the numbers and you break down the play, it's a weird game. For me, like, I would love to hear, like, what some of the Cowboys, you know, content creators that we listen to, what their thoughts are on how the game was called from beginning to end as a whole. You know, because a lot of stuff was made up about Kellen Moore leaving, and, you know, like, now the offense is going to be ran a different way. So I'm curious to know about how that fan base feels about that. That's one of the things that I wrote down is I'd like to, you know, hear about as the week progresses moving forward.
As you say that, right? Let me tell you what Cowboys fans do. They have too much personnel to blame the personnel. Too many stars in too many different positions over there. Mike McCarthy is always going to get the blame over there. And then second, it's going to be Dak Prescott. It's always going to be like that. It's like
Washington. Washington, like, I feel like Washington and Dallas, the coaches are on the hot seat all the time right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, some crazy fans may say things about, you know, your coach, but majority of people realize he's in his second year. He won Coach of the Year last year. He's not getting fired anytime soon, right? And I think, you know, obviously Sirianni's job is locked for, you know, years to come at this rate. So, yeah, he's definitely going to take a lot of blame. I mean, you talked about the penalties. What's interesting about the penalties, right? So 13 penalties accepted, 107 yards.
My God.
Okay? But the big one, a quarter of those penalties resulted in first downs for the Arizona Cardinals. When you're playing against a team like Arizona, you're helping them. You're enabling the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
And listen, we talked about it because the Cardinals played the Commanders. Cardinals played the Giants. We talked about how this team plays tough.
Yeah,
they play tough,
and
they saw it here. And I don't think that this wasn't necessarily a trap game turnout as far as the play was on the field for the Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys necessarily underestimated Arizona. I'm not going to go as far as to say that, right?
Yeah.
But I just think that they did not play the game they needed to play to win the game, okay? If you're going to, in the NFL, you cannot allow teams to you know, get the easy way out. It wasn't like Dallas turned the ball over 4 times. You know, it wasn't like they didn't. The numbers are staggering. Dallas ran 75 plays. Arizona only ran 53.
Yeah.
How you run 20 more plays and lose by 12 points?
And that's that first half lead. You know, you score on your first 5 possessions. You know, as the Arizona Cardinals did, you know, 5 possessions straight, you scored, and then you scored once in the second half. You really just trying to just keep the game on ice and just get to that finish line and just win it. And it seemed like the Dallas Cowboys had the ball throughout most of the second half, you know, and just driving the ball, getting down to the red zone and just not finishing.
34 minutes, 33 seconds time of possession for Dallas Cowboys to Arizona's 25 minutes and 27 seconds.
Terrible.
And you talk about it. All of these little things.
You should win games when you dominate time of possession.
I mean, listen, they ran 75 to 53 plays. They dominated time of possession. They had 400 yards of offense. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. No, more than 400. They have 421. Arizona had 400 yards of offense. That's the thing that's crazy is that, like, Dallas is a little bit different in the sense of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
We talked about in Philadelphia. Philadelphia can kind of get away with not firing on all cylinders and still win games. They were 1 of 5 in the red zone. They still won, right? Because their defense stepped up and played exceptional. You know, Dallas defense just wasn't there all the way.
Especially in the beginning of the game, getting gashed, man. It started with the big Joshua Dobbs run. I'm like, damn, like, how y'all letting him escape the pocket like this? And the way that he was running read option, he was reading Michael Parsons all day long and beating Mike. I saw Michael Parsons on one play. I got to go full screen on this one. I got to go full screen. He literally, when he got to the backfield, right, he was like so confused with what Josh Dobbs was doing that he just put out both his arms like this, tried to grab the running back with his left arm and then tried to grab the quarterback with his right arm. They really attacked Michael Parsons, and honestly, you saw his weaknesses, and it's against the run. He's not a, like, oversized type of edge rusher. He's a small stature guy. So they just went smack at them, and I think that's the best way to approach going against the Cowboys.
Yeah, and it's interesting that no Mets, no Nets, no Jets I see in the chat is talking about how Arizona went for 2 early 2-point conversions in this game also.
Yeah, that's a fact, man.
So like
they got the first one and didn't get the second one, I think, right? Is that how it went down?
I think they failed on both of them actually.
Did they fail on both?
I have to go back and double check that, but yeah,
I remember they definitely failed on one. I do remember that.
Dallas came into this game with tied for the most sacks in the league with the Commanders, and you talked about it. They only had 2 in this game, but you were expecting them to have a lot more against an Arizona team. So that's something that's really interesting as well. But 222 yards on the ground, like it's not a good day when you do that. The thing that's crazy is Arizona average yards per play 7.5 yards per play.
Getting them.
So it's like it's so difficult to operate on defense, giving up that many yards per play, and then you tack on the penalties, and then not doing it in the red zone.
Yeah,
and then
the red zone was huge.
Getting away from the running game, and then obviously the interception at the end, was the icing on the cake. So
yeah, and the fourth down conversions that Dallas did. Before the interception from Dak Prescott, the fourth down, and they went for it before that, I think you just got to take the points there, man. That aggressive nature when you're down by 2 scores, I think you got to just go out there, put some points on the board. And, we talked about this off air a little bit too. That field goal before the half really set them up to be a 2-score lead throughout the whole second half. And they just couldn't chomp away at that lead. And they needed to do that. You saw, like, end of the third quarter, I think it was, Dallas scored. And it was like, they're kind of in the game here. But it's like, you're going to run out of possessions here before you get a shot to actually win this game. So now these possessions become priceless. You got to score on each of them, and you can't go down there in the red zone, be 1 for 5. We talked about, especially with the New York Giants being one of the, I believe, top 10 teams last year in the red zone as far as efficiency goes. And we always talk about this, like, it's either efficiency or you got to maximize the amount of attempts. And I'm learning this year, I think that it's more important to be efficient than it is to maximize the attempts.
Yeah, because think about it. 5, I mean,
in 5, you come away with 1. That ain't it.
That's not going to cut it. And this is the thing that if I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, this is what worries me the most about this game. A lot of times when you lose games like this, right, when you're heavily favored, it's like a disaster of a game. They didn't have a Sam Howell disaster of a game, right? Or it's somebody gets hurt, or the other team just has like a guy that just plays, goes for 600 yards passing, or a running back that goes for 200, a receiver that just is on it that night. Like he's like Steph Curry from behind the arc. You know what I'm saying? Like there was none of that. There was no, this was just we talked about it off air and you brought it up. You thought about it. It could have been a tough matchup, but in no way did we think it was a matchup nightmare for the Dallas Cowboys.
At all.
But it appeared to be just a matchup sort of difference. Like, this is a game you lose to like a team and you're like, that team was just better than us. The Arizona Cardinals aren't better than the Dallas Cowboys.
Good point.
But they found a way to win without like doing anything off the charts or Dallas completely dropping the ball. They did a ton of stuff right. The team looked good.
Just balanced.
It's really interesting. So I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. This kind of worries me a little bit because it makes me think, like, what happens if we play like this against Philadelphia?
I'll tell you what
San
about
Francisco,
that.
Chargers.
It's good that they got this loss right here to an inferior opponent like this. I was in the chat on William Steele and Vach's show the other day before this game, right? And I mentioned the red zone stuff because they were 2 for 6, I believe, in the, last week in the red zone and still, found a way to get the W. And I was like, y'all got a red zone problem? And William Steele was like, nah, that's not a red zone problem. He said something about it. And I was like, all right, I was like, you made some good points there. This is a red zone problem when you're talking about 2 games in a row like this. I do think it's good that they lost because here's the thing. The Dallas Cowboys are known to stride throughout the season, and then when it gets late and you get to the pressure situations, they fall apart. So getting a loss like this early, I think it kind of might snap you back into reality and understand what's at stake here. The Dallas Cowboys have a roster. They have a coaching staff that they need to go out here and make a push at a Super Bowl. You have to at least be in the NFC Championship game this year to consider this a successful season. And I think this loss might yield well for them down the future. It's like, hey, smack in the face real quick, get right, let's get back to the drawing board and try to win these games.
Yeah, I think that, in the end, with how wide open the NFC is, that statement is going to be 1,000% correct, and it's going to be correct week 4, 5, 6, all the way to
Yep.
week 18. So it's going to be an interesting thing to watch. You know, Dallas, we looked at this part of Dallas's schedule as kind of like an easy way out through the beginning of the season.
Though. They got 3 tough games before the bye here. I think it's the Patriots, the 49ers, and the Chargers.
Yep.
So, man, you come out of that 1-2 or something, people going to start to be looking at the Dallas Cowboys a little strange for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be it's just going to be hard to close the gap on the Eagles this year. So they got to win games like this moving forward. Big shout out to our guy, Irish Rover, with the $5 super chat. Says, I am not a hater. However, I must say the Cowboys losing on Sunday made the Giants' loss a little less frustrating. Love the content and the chat. We appreciate you, my guy, as always.
I'm gonna take the push on this statement right here, Irish Rover, because for me it's like we played so bad, and our start to the season, we're gonna get into this in a second. Our start to the season has just been like, are we really in a rebuild? Like, is it true rebuild now? This whole win and rebuild thing kind of starts to look a little bit sketchy. I didn't get any pride out of the Cowboys losing. It's weird. I didn't get any joy out of it. I ain't gonna lie. I just got to keep it funky with y'all. It did not make me happy.
For me, it's not necessarily like making me happy, right? But it is an NFC loss, okay? And based upon the way I had the standings laid out between in the NFC, you know, obviously I had the Giants going 8-9. Yep. This is not a loss I had on the schedule for Dallas.
Sure.
So you know, it's although I did have them losing to the Giants in week 1.
You had the Cowboys at 8-9 or at 7-10?
8-9.
You had them at 8-9. Then you had us at what? 8-9 as well?
9-8.
9-8. Okay, you said 8-9 there.
And
Kind of threw me off a little bit. Okay.
I had us at 10-7 and Philly at 11-6.
Yeah,
so
I got you.
These sort of feelings for me happen a little bit more towards the end of the season. You know,
Yeah.
and it's difficult to lose, like Awthentik said. This is also coming from the Commander side of things. It's difficult to lose the way that you lose.
Yeah, I mean, dog, y'all lost 37-3 like that. Looking at the Cowboys lose, it's like that does not help. That knife y'all just put through my heart just now from the Buffalo Bills. I don't think it helps too much. Give me them Joshua Dobbs numbers real quick, and then I want to show the people in the chat something real quick as well.
So Joshua Dobbs on the day was pretty impressive. He only had 4 incompletions, 17 of 21 for 189 yards and 1 touchdown.
Clean.
So, you know, the quarterback rating, the QBR and the passer rating were almost double that of Dak Prescott. And that's the thing that's crazy. It's like, okay, Connor, 98 yards, Dobbs, 189 yards, but where did the points in the offense come from? It's kind of
early,
crazy.
man. That 200 yard, 180 yards rushing in the first half got them the lead that they needed, and defensively they played well in the second half, well enough to get that victory. Now, speaking of Joshua Dobbs, I saw that the quarterback school did his first breakdown on Joshua Dobbs. And, you know, I remember Joshua Dobbs when he was like a backup. You'd get to see him in preseason every now and again. And I was like, this kid got some tools, man. He plays pretty decent, you know. And I thought that this was a segment that everyone in the NFC East should see from Joshua Dobbs. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about on the Giant overreaction when I was talking about Brock Purdy and just being precise and having the right mechanics, having the right base and throwing the ball. Now, if you have not subscribed to the quarterback school, go over there. When you subscribe, go to this particular video and say Awthentik and The Beard sent you. I try to plug him as much as I can. He's got like 200K subs or whatever it may be, but everybody needs to be subscribed to that channel because there are nuances from the quarterback position that a lot of people just don't understand. And before we go off into the Commanders recap here, I want to show y'all something that he broke down on Joshua Dobbs. It's going to take 1 minute. Check this out, y'all.
We're going to run what I'm used to calling a speed out down here to the bottom, number 1. Great anticipation, beautiful ball, timing, lots to like. Now from the drop, I can tell you, this is probably one of my favorite drops from Sunday. Watch the dovetail. Oh, yeah. I mean, I can only say here, I think normally this ball is thrown with no hitch. Maybe they run it different in Arizona. I don't know. The timing of it works out pretty nice with the hitch. Right on him. Again, watch the wide receiver to the bottom. Just turn 26 like a top. My guy Al Harris down there teaching his own thing. I like it. Take advantage of it outside the numbers. Watch the drop. Watch the dovetail. 1, 2, 3. Boop. I mean, y'all. Clinic tape it. Mark it down. Watch the dovetail. Lined up to the left. Y'all. Watch the feet. Watch the drop. Dovetail. Lined up to the left. Polished. Hell yes. I just want to make this thing a GIF, let that thing wash over me all day. My goodness.
Now, those are the nuances that I feel like your average casual fan has no idea about. They're just looking at the ball go through the air. Oh, it's a good pass, it's a bad pass, whatever it may be. These are the things that will make a quarterback succeed in the NFL. When I talked about Jalen Hurts' mechanics improving from last year or from 2021 entering into 2022, I was watching a lot of these breakdowns from JT O'Sullivan where he was like, look at the base in preseason. Look at the footwork. Look at the upper body mechanics. Look at how his shoulders are aimed towards the throw where he's going to be. It's great work from Joshua Dobbs. Now, I don't know if this kid's going to be a starter moving forward, but I think right now, and this is what I said about Jameis Winston when Derek Carr went out in that game. I was like, bro, you need to go out there and put good tape on the damn film. And he did not. I feel like he did not. When you look at Joshua Dobbs, that's all he's doing. So make sure y'all go subscribe to the Quarterback School. I think that's probably going to get us demonetized and probably send some money his way. I'm not mad at that because he puts out some of the best content on YouTube when it comes to football. And those are the kind of things that I'm seeing from Brock Purdy as well. Hitting that back foot, ball coming out. You're not seeing a quarterback back there patting the football, waiting for people to get open, seeing it get open before he releases the ball. You're seeing a quarterback that's anticipating where his wide receiver is going to be, and he's letting that ball go, even though it looks like it's kind of covered.
Yeah, it was a clinic, and it was a great route by the wide receiver also on that play. Definitely want to point that out. But I mean, it's fascinating because it's called Zach Attack wants to know the channel is called. It's called the QB School, right? Yeah, the QB School. I guarantee you 90% of people, including myself, have absolutely no idea what the hell a dovetail is.
Oh, you know? Not at all. I didn't know dovetail till I saw this video, and I was like, I'm putting that down in the notes. Yeah. You know, and I just think as football fans, and especially as football connoisseurs like how we are, you know, I'm just constantly trying to just add more value to the knowledge that I have. So I study the greats like that. And for those of y'all that don't know, the Quarterback School is ran by JT O'Sullivan, former NFL quarterback. So this ain't just some dude up there just telling you X's and O's how this goes. He has experience playing the game. He was in Mike McCarthy's system in Green Bay. So, you know, he definitely had to throw in a couple little shots out there in his review on this one. But definitely check it out, Joshua Dobbs. It's a review on the Quarterback School. For those of y'all that are rewatching this, we'll make sure to put the link to his channel in the description. Let's go off and get into this Bills-Commanders matchup here, man. I know this is the one that the Beard is dreading. And Giants fans, y'all hang tight. I'm telling y'all, stick around for this recap we about to do. These next two are going to be on fire. I promise y'all that. All right, Beard, I'm going to be short and sweet talking about the introduction to this game. The Bills and the Commanders now are both 2-1. The Commanders fell to the Bills on Sunday, 37-3, which doesn't sound that bad when you look at that Miami Dolphins Denver Broncos game. So not too shabby, right? Bills went up 10-0 early in this game, and after a big play to Curtis Samuel, Washington was in the red zone trying to answer, cut it to a one-score lead. 3rd and goal from the 2-yard line. They run some wacky play on 3rd down. They try to go for it on 4th down, and you get an incomplete pass from Sam Howell, and you could see that he could not see the field on this one. When you zoomed out and saw the all 22 on this one, there's a wide receiver on his left side wide open that he missed on this one. And you knew it was going to be a long day from there on out. Washington's big bad front did not get to Josh Allen one time in this game. I know the Beard's going to go over that on his roadmap. The Bills defense sacked Sam Howell. I had to go back and look at these numbers from different sources because I didn't think this was correct. They sacked him 9 times on the day. This was Howell's worst day as a professional in his short career. Small sample size or the large sample size, however the Beard says that one. But these were his numbers on the day right here. Sam Howell was 19 of 29 for 170 yards, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He was sacked 9 times on the day. His QBR was 19. That's it. 19. Commanders' first half possessions went interception, punt, turnover on downs, interception. Reminds me of the New York Giants versus Philadelphia Eagles in a divisional game, but a little bit worse. Second half, they came out, got the halftime speech from Ron Rivera. Eric Bieniemy probably out there hyping them up. We got to go out here and get back in this game. It's just a 2-score game. Let's go do it. Second half, they went interception, punt, fumble, pick 6, punt, ended the game with a field goal. This was a terrible performance by the Washington Commanders. I feel embarrassed for all those fans that were out there in the stands in another sold-out game in the red zone. Washington was 0 for 2. Buffalo was 2 for 4. And time of possession was just a drastic difference here. Buffalo, 34 minutes and 39 seconds to Washington's 25 and 21 seconds. The Beard, I don't know if you want to go over the roadmap first. We ain't really talk about this. I'm going to follow your lead on this one. I think you had a better chance of leading the Washington Commanders than Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy did on this past Sunday. What did you see from this game?
I will say we ended on a high note. You know, we left with a field goal. Yeah, we ended on a high note, right? That's about the best thing I got here for the Washington Commanders. I mean, listen, let's go ahead and go over the roadmap and just get that out the way because this is a good one. This is
I'm right there with you.
Really good one here.
Yeah, you're getting on the freeway. What? No, turn right. Get out of the lane. No. Okay, get in position. Just get out the lane.
So, imagine this. You're on a road trip, right? You're going to the slopes. You're heading to the mountains. It's wintertime, right? You're going on a little ski trip, you and the boo or you and the boys, you know.
You and the boo or you and the boys.
and you're driving through the mountain and a storm comes in out of nowhere, right? And then next thing you know, you can't move. You got to start a fire to stay warm.
Oh, this is bad. Car
The
won't start, no
roadmap
heat.
was used to start the fire because that's the only description I can give you because it was not followed to a T at all, okay? So on the roadmap, I said, hey, Washington, you got to win the running game, all right? You got to go over 100, hold Buffalo to less than 100, okay? I will tell you this much. The only thing that, you got to the first red light on the roadmap, and that was it. It all went downhill after that. We did go for over 100 yards, 105, but we definitely did not hold Buffalo under 100 yards. They ran for 168. Give me the on that one, okay? We're not taking half points here, all right? Up next, I said win the turnover battle. Washington 0, Buffalo 2. It was not in accordance. We had 5 turnovers to Buffalo's 1, okay? So that was another, bump in the road, to say the least. Then I said, okay, sacks. We got to win the sacks. I wanted Washington to have 5 sacks. I wanted, to allow 2. Washington had the big, fat donut, as Awthentik said. And not to mention, did we not only not have any sacks, we allowed 9 sacks. Washington had 10 sacks the entire season through the first 2 games, and that was number 1 in the NFL. Buffalo is probably leading the league in sacks now because they had 9 against Washington.
Wild. 9 is wild.
And we're going to talk about those sacks in a second here. Now, then I said, I saw somebody in the chat wanted to know, hey, how many penalties does Washington have? I said that was going to be an issue. We needed to have 4 or less penalties. Nope. We had 6 penalties. So, no, we lost that. And then, obviously, I said, you got to win the time of possession. Keep that Buffalo off the field. Yeah, we lost that as well. So, roadmap, a big, fat failure. Now, listen. Yeah, you could talk about so many different things in this game. I will say this, okay? We stunk. All right?
Facts.
We absolutely stunk. Sam Howell stunk. Okay, the offensive line stunk. Defensive line stunk. Special teams stunk. Defense just stunk as a whole. The only thing that didn't stink in this entire game was Brian Robinson. Outside of that, everybody stunk. And listen, I love the fact we got the ball to Terry a lot more in this game. 6 targets, 6 receptions, right?
Yeah. Still didn't lead you on yardage, though. I thought that was interesting.
No, Samuel led us in yardage. But I have to give credit to the Buffalo coaching staff, too. Yeah. This is why I drive.
I'll be in the car.
That is my wife. She's definitely a NASCAR driver.
Yes.
Not necessarily a good one, NASCAR driver. She's great, though. She's a great driver. I love you, man.
Cole Trickle vibes.
Yeah, Cole Trickle
Fix this
vibes.
damn
Exactly.
car.
Exactly, But listen, I have to give credit to the Buffalo Bills coaching staff. We talked about how they were the lowest percentage blitzing team in the National Football League.
Yeah.
They brought the kitchen sink against Sam Howell. Okay. And
Inspired by Wink Martindale.
Yeah. And so listen, 9 sacks. 5 of those sacks, I believe, I personally would accredit to the offensive line.
Yeah.
And then 4 of them I would put on Sam Howell. Now, I think you'll see varying different people's opinions on that. And and statistical things like that. I'd be curious to see if anybody like any of the like grading companies
PFF does.
that they agree with me or not.
Yeah, they break down pressure, what pressures were based upon the quarterback and upon the offensive line and sacks as well.
So I'd be curious
I'll try
to
to
see
dig into it for you.
if my numbers match up with that. But that's where I had it. I have 5 on the offensive line and 4 on Sam Howell. Nonetheless, 4 on your quarterback is definitely not enough here.
Yeah, it's not a good look for sure.
It's just you can't go through a game like that as the quarterback. And I understand this is his 4th start ever in the National Football League. I understand that, right?
No excuses.
There's no excuses. We're not in the business of making excuses. Like he had a bad game, and there was some good moments in this game, right?
Yeah.
But good moments don't win football games.
The little spin run he had, when he was in the red zone.
Bro, your tweet on that was a thing of beauty. I thought that was fantastic. I was dying. But yeah, you see why the hope is there, right? And I'm not even going to dive into Commanders fan base and how utterly disrespectful of a fan base they are, how fair weather they can be. And it's not everybody, but there's a lot of them out there, people are literally like, well, what's the leash on Sam Howell? And I'm like, why is this even a question? Why is this a question?
Let him get his feet wet, doing what he does, playing some
he
ball.
starts
His 4th game.
17 games unless he's injured. That's how this plays out, okay? So there's no bringing in Jacoby Brissett.
I'm going to take the push on that one.
Listen.
I'm going to take the push, man.
I think we were outcoached. We were 100% outcoached. And obviously, Ron Rivera is going to be the one that's going to get the backlash here. It's not going to be Eric Bieniemy. You might see some people giving some backlash to Jack Del Rio because the defensive game plan was not good. Okay, and we saw that early on. And also, let's just be perfectly blunt here. The Buffalo Bills are a way better football team than the Washington Commanders. Okay?
Beard, I was checking some receipts today, right? And looking through my receipts, I bookmark receipts on Twitter. Yes, I do. Call me petty, whatever you want to call me. I'm petty. Yes, right? And I noticed a lot of people wrote off the Buffalo Bills after the first 2 weeks. Josh Allen having those turnover issues. They were like, I saw a hot take from a Philadelphia Eagles content creator, one of the homies, and she was like, yeah, book it. Buffalo Bills are going to be a team that's not in the playoffs. And I'm just like, you see the way they're striding now. If Josh Allen has just a little bit of a running game, it opens up so much for that offense. And look, y'all secondary and y'all linebackers, gaping holes, bro. Like Stephon Diggs was open every damn play, it seemed like. I remember one play, Josh Allen was backed up to his 1-yard line, right? And they didn't even, it was on a turnover from Sam Howell that they got out the end zone or whatever. So he was on his own 1-yard line. They don't end up going down the field and scoring on that drive, but they were backed up to like a 3rd and 12.
They scored a field goal. They're not a touchdown, but they scored a field goal on that drive.
I don't know. When I looked at it today, I thought I didn't see it, but that might be correct. But you get to 3rd and 12, 3rd and whatever it was, 3rd and 13, 3rd and long, and you allow a team to convert through the air like that. I mean, Stephon Diggs running across the middle of the field on a deep in route, just dead open, no one near him. Unacceptable performance from the Washington Commanders defense. And the offense didn't help. I mean, you got your defense out there on the field for this long with this kind of imbalanced game plan as far as time of possession goes. It's hard to win games like that.
Yeah, the offense definitely let the defense down. And I will, because I saw Kevin in the chat, I will give the defense that level of credit as far as, they held them as best as they possibly could. It was only 16 points until the beginning of the 4th quarter. So had
the interception from Fuller, I believe it was. They
who played Fuller played fantastic. I forgot to give him his flowers. Fuller played fantastic. I'm going to say he was the #1 rated cornerback in the National Football League this week, according to PFF. So, but it was the things that we went back to that we had been so good at as a defensive unit. First of all, you talked about it. The middle of the field was open all game long. Now, a lot of that has to do with. It's not just on the pass plays. On all of the big runs, there were none of the – generally you see teams attack Washington on the outside, right? Yeah. Buffalo ran it right up the middle on all Josh Allen, when Josh Allen had his big runs up the middle. Chase Young and them were getting – the reason why I led with how Buffalo is a better team, right? Because I wanted to get to the point where, in the beginning, Chase Young and those guys were getting to Josh Allen. Josh Allen made some superhuman plays that not every quarterback's going to make.
Only him and Mahomes can make those kind of plays, man.
So it's like, like that sort of thing. But then when he started breaking for the runs, and Ron Rivera mentioned this, and some people don't like that he mentioned it. To be honest with you, I mean, I think it's okay sometimes to just be honest. It obviously affected the way that the linemen were pressuring the quarterback after they saw Josh Allen break off for those 2 runs.
Yeah, for sure.
And some of that goes on Chase Young and Montez Sweat, but some of that has to be held accountability for the defensive coordinator because you didn't scheme it properly. There was no pinching on the inside. And generally, Washington is a wide gap defensive front, meaning the ends are taking wide angles. Sometimes by design, sometimes not by design, which opens up, larger running gaps for the quarterback if they don't. But generally, the defensive line in the middle is pinching down, which is blocking that out. But for some reason, there was not that. And a lot of people wanted to see Jamin Davis spying Josh Allen. Another thing we did not see any of. So the middle of the field was just open all game long, whether it was running, whether it was passing. And then the other thing was his third downs. We had been on this long streak of 11 games of not allowing an opponent to convert more than 4 third downs.
Yeah.
Buffalo was 9 of 15. 9 of 15 on third downs. That is, I don't care what else happens in a game. I guarantee you the winning percentage of football teams in the National Football League allowing that sort of, not only that percentage of a conversion, but that amount of a conversion on third downs, I guarantee you that winning percentage is below 40%.
Yeah,
because you cannot win football games like that. And not only was it not, this is going to be crazy. They convert 9 third downs. That's crazy enough, right? 9 of 15. That's crazy. But what's really crazy is 4 of those 9 third downs were 7 or more yards to go.
Yeah, so like that's third and long, pretty much.
Those are the sort of plays that you have to.
Welcome to my world, man. Welcome to the Wink Martindale defense. Without
exception, you have to get off the field on those plays. 3rd and 7 shouldn't. Okay, I'll give you 1, maybe 2, but 4, and of those of 7, 2 of them were of double-digit to goes.
Yeah, it's not fun.
You cannot do that. Now, let's talk about the offense, okay? 0 for 2 in the red zone. Can't have it. Can't have it. Young team, young quarterback, can't have it. You got to score points.
Tight game. Can't have it.
Cannot
have it.
And I'm not necessarily, listen, a lot of times it's easy to say things in hindsight, right? Oh, you should have gone for it. You should have took the field goal.
Yeah.
And in this game, at that point, I was torn 50-50. Usually I will stand, I will die, I will pick one of the two, and I will die on the hill, right?
The fourth down conversion?
When they decide to go for it in the red zone, right?
Yeah.
I was torn. In my mind, I'm like, okay, it's early enough. Maybe you just take the 3 points, get on the board. Just get on the board. We've been struggling in the first half over the last couple of games. Kick the 3, right? And then the other part of me is like, you're going against Buffalo. You made it all the way down here. I'm sick and tired of field goals. Let's power it in. Let's score 7
Power's
points.
the right word to use there because go to your identity. Why don't you're on the 2-yard line? I would have ran the ball.
I'm so glad you said that. The identity. 13 rushing attempts, my guy.
Yeah, that's not it. That's not it.
What did we talk about? What was it? Philly ran the ball 40 times.
Yeah. I'm sure they're losing a little bit of confidence in the duo of running backs there. Antonio Gibson is just fumbling every other damn game.
And the thing that's crazy is that, listen, I have defended Antonio Gibson with the fumbling. I cannot defend that anymore because it's twice now this year. After last year, only losing 1 fumble all year to this, it's a thing. It's tough to defend, right? And he's such a great athlete, a good football player. He had some great plays here, but I can't defend that. But even the 13, 9 of them were in the second half, I believe. I think we only ran the ball 4 times in the first half, something crazy like that. It just, I know Eric Bieniemy he has this philosophy, and it's crazy because not me, but a lot of fans were like, we need to throw the ball down the field, and we got to pass the ball, and this and that, right? And then it happens, and then they're like, well, why aren't we running the ball?
Yeah. It's at the cost of turnovers. When you fans are going to be upset when you turning the ball over. And in this game, I didn't think the problem was necessarily just like moving the ball because they had little chunk plays here and there. But then you get down to the red zone and you throwing interceptions, you turning the ball over on downs, you fumbling the ball around midfield. There's no way you're going to win a game with this many turnovers. When I saw the Minnesota Vikings go up against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday night and they were actually in a one-score game after they turned the ball over 5 times, it was a miracle.
Yeah. You don't see
it should have
that.
looked like this. You just don't see that.
No,
yeah,
you don't.
You just don't see it. You got to have a hell of an offensive performance to stay in these kind of games when you're turning the ball over that much.
So I think that Bieniemy is going to have to lose some of his stubbornness and just I'm not asking him to completely abandon his identity as an offensive coordinator because that's why we brought him here. We brought him here to be the offensive coordinator that he is, right? And he is a 65% pass to run offensive coordinator. That's his style, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes I've seen in the first 2 games, I've seen him adjust as accordingly to the game. I think now you're going to have to, you might have to do that before the game starts. You might have to adjust accordingly. I think we're going to have to find some better balance in the run pass game. Like I would love to see, me, I'm a 40 run a game sort of guy. That's my style. If I was an OC, I'm not asking you to do that, but we can't do 13. I mean, that's just, it doesn't work.
Especially when it's just not working. You look at the yardage from your wide receiver core. Jahan Dotson, I believe, had 2 catches on the day. Samuel had the 1 big play, led y'all in receiving. Terry McLaurin, a bunch of little knick-knack, dink and dunk type of plays. That's really it. Get to the identity, man. Get to the run. But the problem is when you got all those weapons and you're not utilizing them, fan base is going to criticize one side of the coin, either of them. If you run the ball too much, they're going to say, hey, we got all these weapons out here. Why you ain't throwing the ball when you're in close games and you lose games, right? And same thing goes for when you're throwing the ball too much. So I think Washington's in a really tight spot, and they got a young quarterback here, manning the ship, trying to handle all this in his first real season as a quarterback. It's going to be tough.
And listen, shout out to Awthentik because the transitions and the discussions today have been absolutely 100% conversion rate. Sam Howell. Let's talk about Sam Howell a little bit.
Let's go. Like I mean, hey, we've been on this game for a grip. There
was some obvious downfall to Sam Howell's game, and he's got to find a way to find consistency in his game, because at times you're like, Sam Howell's clicking. He's seeing the read, he's getting rid of the ball, but then like you talked about in that one play, Jahan Dotson's wide open in the end zone. You can't miss those. The footwork has to improve some. The padding of the ball. These are all things that we've talked about other quarterbacks doing throughout this show so far. So those are things that, he's going to have to improve on. The interceptions, they were pretty damn bad. They were pretty damn bad. The one, Matt Ryan said it best, like on the pick 6. You're not going to throw it over a 6-foot+ guy. Like, you got to eat that. Pump fake it, run, we gotta string this together for Sam Howell. Like, I'm not as down on Sam Howell as 90% of the people are. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I knew that there was going to be something like this. Peyton Manning's rookie season, we've seen it a million times. We talked about a million times the amount of interceptions he's thrown. Jalen Hurts had a game similar to this against the New York Giants in one of his first starts. So there's things like that we have seen along the way. With these quarterbacks, it's going to happen. Look at Trevor Lawrence's first 4 or 5 games, albeit with a horrible head coach.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So there's going to be some discrepancies in the game.
You know how I do this, though? Like, I don't like to look at history to try to prove a point in the present day. I don't like to do that, right? Because and as a Giants fan, we get so caught up in that. Oh, but Eli struggled his first 3 seasons. Evan Neal will be fine. Andrew Thomas struggled his first season. Saquon Barkley, don't worry about him. He's going to come back and look like Adrian Peterson. Oh, y'all remember when we had Plaxico Burress? Kenny Galladay's going to come in here. He's going to be Daniel Jones, Plaxico Burress. Sometimes it just doesn't happen, right? And I see Monique said a comment in here. I almost want to highlight it, but I just bring a little attention to it. She said he looked good. Some mistakes, but he's young. He did not look good. He looked rattled.
Yeah, he looked
honestly,
bad.
I told the Beard this off air, and it's the last thing I'll say about this game, right? They should have took him out in that fourth quarter when that game got out of hand. Once the lead got to about 21, your quarterback's out there. He had 3 first-half interceptions. You get 4, those are them kind of games that you might be looking at this one like a Nathan Peterman type of situation and being like, man, that shell-shocked that young quarterback, and he can't bounce back from that. You guys got the Eagles next week. I told the Beard this. I'm going to tell the fam in the chat this. They got the Eagles next week. If Sam Howell goes out there and commits 2 or 3 turnovers, just imagine what that's going to do to his psyche as a young quarterback, only 5 games into his career, and a tough stretch coming up. You got a bunch of division games coming up as well after that. He's got to get it together, and if I'm the coaching staff, I start to simplify things a little bit. To me, a little too much read option for a quarterback that poses no threat running the ball from the read option.
Yep, this is the test. This is the test from this point, especially into this game. Obviously, this point through the rest of the season, but this is going to be the test. It was a bad day all around, and I'm glad it's over, and we don't have to talk about it ever again.
Facts. I like that. We don't have to ever talk about it ever again. It's like a bad day at school, man. It's like a bad day at school. I don't want to talk about it, Mom. All right? I don't want to talk about it.
That's it. That's so spot on.
That's what it is, man. It's a bad day at school. You come in the crib, Mom's like, what's wrong? You're like, I don't want to talk about it, Mom. Okay, I had a bad day.
Drop the backpack on the floor, right up to the room, and you do like one of those movie moves where they jump on the bed like backwards, like
back,
that.
Turn on the radio, zone out. You know that book? I don't know if y'all remember this book from back in the day. I'm an OG, so y'all youngins might not remember this book, but it was like about this kid who was having a very terrible, horrible, bad day. And like after he had the bad day, he came home and Mom was serving up lima beans for dinner. Like that's what this kind of game was. I don't know if you remember this book. It's an OG book from the 80s, dog. It was called like The Kid's Name is Having a Very Terrible, Horrible, Bad Day. Definitely check that out because that's how the Commanders were looking. Any last thoughts before we move on from this one? Or
No,
you good?
I just said we don't have to talk about this game again.
You definitely did. All right, y'all. The game that most of my Giants fans been waiting for. I've been waiting to talk about this one again. It's normally not like my type of forte to want to talk about the Giants' losses again when we come here to do the recaps. You know, already talked about it on the Giant Overreaction for about an hour and a half. That one, we had to do that one at 11 a.m. because I had a lot of stuff going on that day. Definitely check that one out. I'm going to reiterate some of those points, but let's get off into it, man. All the way back to Thursday Night Football. Let's talk about the New York Giants who stayed on the West Coast to take on the San Francisco 49ers.
Giants are on the board with 11:16 to go here in the third.
All right, man. I'm going to save the best for last. I got an incredible nugget. Y'all stick around for this nugget. I talked to the Beard about it off air. It's a ridiculous statistic that's not going to make Giants fans feel good about themselves. But let's talk about this loss to the 49ers. 30-12. It was 17-6 at halftime. I called this game 31-13 on our preview show. I was damn close on this one. The 49ers get their 13th straight regular season win. The Giants finished with just 150 yards of offense. Our lone touchdown was Matt Breida's 8-yard touchdown run that was set up by 2 49er penalties, so I don't even want to give us props on that one. CMC had his 12th straight game with the touchdown. The 49ers dominated all categories in this one: total yards, rushing yards, passing yards, first downs, third down conversions, and time of possession. The New York Giants' 150 total yards are the lowest in 10 straight seasons. We had 121 yards passing. That was the lowest, not the lowest of the year. I keep making this mistake. I made this mistake on the Giant Overreaction. The lowest of the year was 63 versus Dallas, and then you come out here against San Francisco 49ers, and you put up 121 yards passing. 2 terrible performances through the air for a team that we thought was going to stretch the field this year. We have not seen that through 3 games pretty much outside of the 2 quarters against the Arizona Cardinals. San Francisco 49ers had 441 yards. It's the most total allowed by the New York Giants since last year against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Managed a way to get a W in that game, which is crazy. You can thank ATN for his fumble late in that one. Now, the New York Giants have been outscored in the first half in 3 games, 63-6. That's not good. That is not good. It's very Washington. This is very 90s Cleveland Browns-esque. I don't even know if we could say this is Washington-esque. Don't forget the 28-0 halftime performance against the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round. A lot of these things I talked about on the Giant Overreaction. Now, the Giants have the worst first half point differential through 3 games since 1991 in our franchise history here. We are one of 2 teams that have not scored a first half touchdown. I think that the Cincinnati Bengals might have been the other team, which is kind of interesting. They also paid their quarterback. Brock Purdy in this game played pretty decent, if you ask me. Not his best game, but he played pretty damn good. 25 of 37, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no turnovers. He had a little bit of a slow start, but they converted 2 third and longs early on in this game that I thought that would dictate the way that the rest of this game would go. And the New York Giants defense, we struggled in this game. 49ers had more yak than the New York Giants had total yards of offense. I'd love to see a statistic of how many times that's ever happened in the history of the NFL, because that's not supposed to happen. And Deebo Samuel would be in the dictionary right next to that yak stat if we had one. The Giants blitzed Brock Purdy on 84.6% of his dropbacks. It was the highest blitz rate in the game in the next-gen stat era, okay? 247 of Brock Purdy's 310 yards came when the New York Giants were blitzing him. So when you look at this game from Brock Purdy, take it with a grain of salt. They were putting pressure on him. They kind of tried to do what the Buffalo Bills did to Sam Howell. Send a blitz at him, young quarterback. Let's see if we can get him rattled, get him out there seeing a little bit of ghost and whatnot, and maybe he'll make the mistake. Brock Purdy never made the mistake. Okay, he averaged 2.34 seconds to throw the ball. That was the fastest time to throw of his entire career. Giants defense missed 16 tackles on the day. Xavier McKinney was on record saying, like, hey, tackling is not the reason why we're in the position we're in. I think he's kind of leaning towards, look at our offense. Our offense is not playing good. When you look at 6 points in the first half of 3 games, no touchdowns in the first half for the New York Giants through 3 games, that's pitiful. But the defense can't be looking at the offense trying to put the blame on them. This is a team effort of bad football across the board for the New York Giants. And last, what I really want to talk about here is Daniel Jones. And a lot of people were looking at this game like, how is Daniel Jones supposed to stretch the field, you know, when he doesn't have time in the pocket? And I will agree, yeah, they're pressuring him, right? But Brock Purdy had more pressure percentage of his snaps on the day than Daniel Jones did. And I know we're looking at the San Francisco 49ers, weapons, but their number one weapon as far as wide receivers go was not here in this game. Brandon Ayuk was sidelined with an injury. So you're looking at George Kittle. I look at George Kittle. I look at Darren Waller. That's a wash. We had no Saquon Barkley. They had CMC. You got to give him the one up there. And with Deebo Samuel, obviously Deebo Samuel is better than every wide receiver that we have on our team. So I do think that you can look at these things with a grain of salt for sure. But Brock Purdy was under more pressure in this game than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones on the day, and I'm going to pull up his numbers here so y'all can see these here as well. The Beard, you can handle that for me as I just rattle off the numbers. Daniel Jones, 22 of 32, 437 yards. 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, a QBR 41.2, okay? Daniel Jones, 137 passing yards is the fewest in Giants history of any quarterback who had at least 22 completions in a game. Goes to show you that this is different than dink and dak, dink and dunk. This is like dink and you get nothing, okay? I don't know what the average yards were per play, but I guarantee you it was very low.
3.3 yards per play for the New York Giants offense.
I don't think we need the Beard here anymore if you're going to be rattling off numbers like that for me, okay? I didn't know it was going to be that low. Golly, goddamn, Beard, that was tough. Jalen Hyatt, 0 targets, played just 12 snaps on passing downs. 0 targets. I don't know what the coaching staff is doing with Jalen Hyatt, but we got to fix this immediately, okay? The Giants had just 11 rushing attempts. I know we had no Saquon Barkley, but you cannot go out here and do that against a team like the San Francisco 49ers. You can't just have Daniel Jones dropping back to pass every damn down. They're trying to keep everybody on the team in pass pro pretty much having 2-man route concepts. Like, what is Daniel Jones supposed to do in these situations? So as much as Daniel Jones, I think, kind of like stunk it up in this game, right? A lot of it you got to put on the coaching staff, okay? Now, this is the nugget of the day right here. This nugget, when I went and did the research on this nugget, you're not going to see this nowhere else yet. Ain't nobody talked about this yet. This is why y'all tune into Awthentik and The Beard, because we do heavy research on this show. Okay, I heard some content creators bragging about not having notes. Best of luck to you, okay? Because having notes is a great thing. Doing your research is a great thing because people are up here, they want to get good information. The Beard, he doing it OG style on paper, pen to paper. We putting in the work here, okay? I went back and looked at every Daniel Jones game dating all the way back to his rookie year, right? And y'all know me, I've talked about this a bunch on this channel last season. I said consistency with Daniel Jones has been the problem. And we could ignore consistency leaving Arizona, right? Because you got a great second half out of Daniel Jones, broke hella records. We came up here on the Giant Overreaction on the recap last week and gave Daniel Jones nothing but props, okay? We put him on a pedestal, and we talked about how good of a performance he had because that's what I do over here, dog. I'm not about to be, like, setting up narratives in the positive or in the negative. I can just look at it and assess it. Looking at Daniel Jones, every one of his games, y'all know if you watch this show, I talked about it last year. He went through the regular season last year without having multiple passing touchdowns in consecutive games ever throughout the season, okay? He did not do it throughout the entire season last year, and he has not done it throughout this season in 3 games this year. So I decided to go back and look at every game. Daniel Jones now has gone 36 straight regular season games without having 2 touchdowns passing in back-to-back games. 36 straight games. They paid this dude $160 million. I'm going to say that. I don't care whose feelings it hurts. He's gone 36 straight games without going back-to-back multiple passing touchdowns.
How many
the
games?
Last time, 36.
Yeah,
Jerome Bettis, you know that jersey that he wore?
One more time.
36
Yeah.
straight games, okay? That is pathetic. I don't give a damn if you're Nathan Peterman. I don't care if you're Kellen Moore as a backup quarterback. I don't care if you're Mike White. That is pathetic to have 36 straight games in the regular season where you have not gone back-to-back games with more than one passing touchdown. And what's the knock been on Daniel Jones? Consistency, consistency, consistency. He's a one-touchdown-a-game type of guy. That's what everybody been saying. And the numbers show you that that is facts. I don't care what kind of deficiencies you're dealing with. And some people going to look at this and go, oh, but the offensive line, the weapons, the coaching staff, the blah, blah, blah. Well, the last time that he did this was with the old coaching staff, okay, with Jason Garrett and Joe Judge. He has not done that. He has not had back-to-back games with more than one passing touchdown since October 20th, week 7. He's had Daniel Jones in his career now has had 57 starts, man. 57 whole starts. He has just 3 times in his entire career that he has went back-to-back games with multiple passing touchdowns. You cannot tell me that that is okay from a starting quarterback in the NFL through 57 starts.
Definitely not in 2023.
That's where my notes end. That's where they end. That's where the notes end, man.
36.
I cannot keep making up excuses for this quarterback. If we're talking about a guy being paid starter franchise money, you can go and debate it and say, oh, but, we got outs in the contract. And we, he's the 11th or the 14th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. You could say whatever you want. You could try to make up whatever excuses you want. Myself here on this channel with Awthentik and The Beard, I'm not going to make up excuses for the quarterback. When you don't have your star running back on the field, when you don't have your left tackle on the field, yes, we know we got to look at these games with a grain of salt when you're going up against a great defense like the San Francisco 49ers. But what I heard all week on Twitter when I posted stuff like, hey, y'all, I'm worried about weeks 3 through 6, especially right now coming off a game where we just barely snuck out of that game. We don't got our left tackle out there on the field. I'm worried about weeks 3 through 6. Oh, don't be worried. This is just a litmus test for Daniel Jones to see where he stands when he doesn't have a left tackle out there. I'm looking that he's going to put this team on his back, and we're probably going to go out here and compete against the San Francisco 49ers. And if you want to say you didn't say it, I told y'all I keep the bookmarks, man. I got the receipts, bro. I got the receipts. This cannot continue. If you know what I do over here on Awthentik and The Beard, and a lot of people been coming at me the past couple of weeks because I'm like, look, man, I kind of tried to tell y'all it's going to be a slow start, right? If you know what I do over here, I've been talking about this. I'm not here to take shots at Daniel Jones or anybody else. That's not my thing.
The numbers don't lie.
The numbers don't lie. Men, women, they lie. The numbers don't lie. The numbers are right there for you. Again, 36 straight games that this dude has not put up multiple passing touchdowns. Regular season games. That cannot happen moving forward. So for me, I got question marks today. I have question marks. I was listening to a couple of spaces today, and in these spaces, I felt appalled for New York Giants fans because anytime somebody jump in with any type of data that says, hey, man, this quarterback is struggling. This team, y'all want to say it's a rebuild. But everybody was going off of what Joe Shane said. We're trying to win and rebuild at the same time. This team right here does not look ready to compete. This team paid a quarterback to try to win games and get to a Super Bowl. And we all know that that wasn't going to happen probably this season, and I'm not ruling it out. I remember last year, Bobby ruled out the Super Bowl early. He was like, this is not going to be a team. It's going to be in the Super Bowl. I was like, Bobby, man, pump the brakes, man. Bobby was right. All right, Bobby was right. So I ain't going to rule it out again because I am a fan who, I like to cling on to hope, right? But this, to me, does not look like a playoff ball club. This, to me, does not look like a team that is competing. And you spent the dollars. The Giants really got $0 this year. You go into next year, we're going to have a little bit more cap space, over $50 million and whatnot, right? But it's not like you can just go and just move on from this quarterback. The dead cap hit next year is something serious, okay? You can't just move on. But the thought that we absolutely had no other options, because that's what all Giants fans were telling me in the offseason, right? What's the other options? What are the options? And when I present the options, they go, we ain't drafting no rookie quarterback. What do we look like drafting a rookie quarterback? When I say bringing a bridge quarterback, they go, well, why would we do that? Daniel Jones
Gardner
is the best
Minshew
option.
just beat the Baltimore Ravens. So.
He did, and they got robbed. Let's not let's not forget that. They definitely robbed Lamar Jackson on that last pass on 4th down, but nonetheless, they won the game. They won the game. Gardner Minshew's a gamer, right? And I'm not sitting here to just rag on the quarterback. I think he can get better. Like I said, the coaches are not putting him in position to win games. How do you expect Daniel Jones to be able to, he needs a wall of an offensive line. He is that type of quarterback. And now teams got tape on all these stupid little boots we like to do. They tried to leave Nick Bosa open on one of these boots. You think Nick Bosa falling for that bullshit? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And Daniel Jones was under pressure all day in this game. But when you look at the pressure statistics across the league, I think I saw Daniel Jones it was either 17th, it might have been 12th. So either one of those numbers, that's middle of the pack. That's middle of the pack. And I just wanted to bring that to y'all attention today. For the people that are blind when it comes to quarterback assessment, and it's always, I got faith in him. I got faith in him. I feel you, because the Beard will tell you, before we started this podcast, I was a fan just like that. That's how I looked at the game. And it used to ruin my weeks, man. I'd be like, God, you remember the hurdle that I did up here in the dining room? You remember that hurdle I did when I thought we scored a touchdown, the ball popped up, got intercepted? When I'm talking about a high jump, my knees went over my shoulders. Just imagine my knees jumping up that high, going over my shoulders.
I remember, look, I'm just going to throw this out there because this is good talk. I remember the 50-something yard field goal that Graham Gano kicked for Carolina.
Oh my God. Yo, bro, these Giants.
I remember those stretching games for Awthentik in the living room.
The Deshaun Jackson punt return in Scotty's basement, bro. I walked out and I didn't even say a word, yo. I was just like, so we know how to lose, man. We've been losing as a fan base. We've been watching the New York Giants lose for so long. We've had 5 years of inept football. This is all I ask from y'all. I'm never, ever going to come up on this show and put all the blame on the quarterback. I'm never going to do that.
Yeah.
Now, if we had Sam Howell performance, I might do that. Okay? In this past, four interceptions, I might be like, yo, it was all on the quarterback. We aren't, I am, you aren't, we aren't. But I'm just saying, right? I'm not going to do that. That's not my swagger. I ain't going to just be like, it's all him. But people feel like that when they go online. When they see you post a statistic from a Daniel Jones game like the one I just gave y'all off, 36 regular season starts without back-to-back games of multiple touchdowns is absolutely ridiculous, right? And when I post that and I go to Twitter and I post that or I post this clip, you're going to see people thinking I'm taking shots, I'm hating. But I just want to try to make the picture a little bit more clear for you.
Yes.
Right now, this don't look like a franchise quarterback. And I just got to assess it for right now. It's what I'm seeing. It does not look like a franchise quarterback. We can make up all the excuses in the world. I saw Kirk Cousins go out there without his center, without his left tackle. And granted, he's got Justin Jefferson out there. He's got the little youngin out there, Jordan Addison as well. But we got Darren Waller, man. We got Jalen Hyatt, who we're not using. We got Darius
snaps
Slayton.
He played, right? Only 10 snaps?
He played 12 passing snaps, and he was on the field for 17 total, or 16 total, I believe it was. That's not it. And then when he finally got the one chance where he got open on a great route, it's my favorite route. The Beard knows it. I'm always running this route when we played on our two-hand touch team. I love that 7 route. As soon as I come open and I turn the shoulders, the ball need to be, don't put it on me too hot, right? I want to be able to see it, see the release. In the NFL, we need anticipation. Jalen Hyatt's coming out that route. Daniel Jones is right there. And the one thing that I'm noticing from Daniel Jones is he don't want to stand in that pocket and take them hits. It's like he's predetermining, man, I got these guys up front. I'm missing my left tackle. I got a bunch of guys they just drafted that they're throwing out there on the offensive line. I ain't about to sit up in his pocket and take no unnecessary hits. So when he sees that pressure start to stagger back towards him a little bit, and these be the kind of pressures that do get quarterbacks injured, players down there around your knees and whatnot, he is not willing to stay in there and take the shot. And on this particular one, Bobby got a great breakdown of this that's on his Twitter. Just go to Bobby Skinner, 2 underscores, I believe, are after his Twitter name, and check out the play. I retweeted it. He bails out of the pocket. There's a little pressure up front, left tackle, left guard, getting pushed back a little bit. He could have stayed in the pocket and made the throw. He rolls out of the pocket. Even when he rolled out the pocket, he's looking right at Jalen Hyatt down that field. He does not pull the trigger. He rolls all the way to the sideline, and he does make a good play here to not take a sack. Last minute, he had both his arms were tied by the defender, and he did this little underhand pitch, and he got rid of the ball. That's a heads-up play from him. But at the end of the day, man, this offense was built around Daniel Jones and the New York Giants offense to stretch the field. When you get these opportunities, man, you got to throw that ball up. And we saw it against the Arizona Cardinals, man. He had one where it's one-on-one. I'm taking Jalen Hyatt one-on-one on any defender right now that at least it's not going to be an interception at bare minimum. Put the ball up. You got to put the ball up, and that's not going to save this game. One play is definitely not going to save this game. The Giants' offense was just completely inept all day long. You cannot expect to win games with 11 rushing attempts. I'm going to repeat this to y'all again. Go check out the video. It's 2 minutes of your time. The identity of the New York Giants. And it brought me back to something last year. Justin Pennick talked about this last year, and I repeated it a few times on this show. He said the New York Giants are building this team around Saquon Barkley instead of building it around a good rushing attack. It's a great bar because you look at this when you remove Saquon Barkley, not only are we ineffective running the ball, we're not even getting the attempts that we need to run the ball. We got 3 running backs, 4 if you want to add Daniel Jones. And you got 11 attempts total.
What was the bar from Giant Overreaction, the one that you screenshotted of the guy who was talking about the 2022 Giants beat the 2023 Giants right now?
Yeah, he did say that. I'm glad you remembered it. I had the screenshot here. I was about to pull it up, but that's what it was. He said that the 2022 team would beat us, and they would. Paris Campbell has not came in and filled the shoes of Richie James yet. Isaiah Hodgins is just another guy out there on the field. I like him as a possession receiver, and he's, he can get in the end zone. We've seen that. I want to say he scored in 4 of his last 6. Darius Slayton can do what he does. I question how come we're not using our speed on the outside a little bit more.
Yeah, that
Darius
to
Slayton
me,
and Hyatt both.
That I would feel like, a lot of times, and I think this kind of is like full circle on the anticipation and stuff like that, right? Like you would think a lot of times that with speed on the outside and a guy who's under pressure a lot, right? You would have a play designed to, where somebody's going to take one of the safeties out and that guy's going to use his speed and you're just a 3-step and just let release. Sort of a situation,
you would think, and
right?
we don't do that a lot, and I don't know the kind of coverage that we're seeing in this game. I see my homie Antonio is in the chat, and he could probably answer this. Antonio, if you're hearing this right now, put this in the chat box for me. Let me know what kind of coverage they was running. Was the 49ers running a lot of cover 1, or did you see 2 safeties over the top? Because if you got 2 safeties over the top, these whole shots become way more difficult.
Yes.
If you got 1 safety over the top, what you're saying is dead perfect. It's how Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were eating last season, right? Mm-hmm. You get 1 safety over the top, 1 read, I'm going to look the safety off this way, going back to the other side. But I don't even see a lot of formations with Darius Slayton on one side of the formation, outside receiver, and then Jalen Hyatt is the other outside receiver, so you can give Daniel Jones those options, especially if you're going against cover 1. But this kid was paid to pull the trigger. The knock on him last year was this exact thing, not being able to pull the trigger on throws down the field. It's an issue. And I know defensively we had our woes. I see Marjorie bringing up some statistics that we were 1 or 2 teams that don't have an interception, I believe it was. Yeah, the defense is bad. Can't get off the field on 3rd down. These 2 young corners, I like what they're doing in coverage, but when it comes to stepping up and stopping the run, not so good. Darnay Holmes is better in the slot at stopping the run than Adoree Jackson is. Adoree Jackson is better in the slot at covering these wide receivers, can't tackle in the run that great. We need to almost take them and have a baby and fuse them and make them into one player. We know Darnay Holmes can't cover on the back end. It's a poor performance from the New York Giants. It's against the greater competition. That's the one thing that I can walk away from this game from and be like, all right, we can't compete right now against the good teams, but maybe we can go out here against teams like the Seattle Seahawks and maybe find ways to win.
Yeah. It's interesting too because we talk about the 36. You talk about the 7 route. Who throws that 7 route like one of the best in the league right now is Justin Herbert.
Oh, Herbert. Oh my God. I thought you were saying Daniel Jones. I was about to lose my damn mind. But yeah, Herbert is great at it.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because there's a lot of that talk, and we've had the discussion here for the debate purposes on Daniel Jones. Is Daniel Jones a top 10 quarterback? And Daniel Jones this and that, right? Should Daniel Jones be a top 10 quarterback?
Right.
Is he? I guarantee you that all 9, if you wanted to say Daniel Jones was the 10th best quarterback, I guarantee you all 9 of those quarterbacks have more back-to-back,
consecutive games with
2
multiple
or more
touchdowns. Yeah.
Every single one.
Every time I say that, it's like it's such a hard thing to word, right? But that's just what it is. As simple as you can put it, it's having 2 games in a row with at least 2 passing touchdowns. Like that's not a lot to ask.
It's not a lot to ask.
It's not a lot to ask.
That should be the norm.
Yeah.
If you're going to put Dan for Giants fans that do, and I'm not saying all Giants fans do, but for the Giants fans that do put Daniel Jones in that bracket of a top 10 quarterback. You cannot be a top 10 quarterback and not have and go 36. This isn't like a 5-game, 10-game stretch.
Yeah, it's bad.
10 sounds crazy.
It's 3
right?
seasons of this, pretty much.
Yes. 36 games? No, you can't. Listen, you cannot be a franchise quarterback. You cannot be a top 10 quarterback. You cannot be a playoff contender without one of those sort of things if you're doing that. You just can't.
Yeah.
So they have to find a way.
That's a big fact, bro. That's a big fact right there. Big fact. Like, you can't expect a guy to be consistent if he can't even just do that. Brock Purdy has 9 starts. He has multiple passing touchdowns in 8 of the 9 starts.
Yeah.
I know it's San Francisco, but y'all told me this team was going to compete. I felt confident that this team was going to start to compete.
Yeah.
And I see it. For those of y'all watching on Twitter, right? I see the numbers done spiked up when I start giving y'all these bars. The Flames is definitely out right now. All right? For those of y'all on Twitter that be like, oh, it's the secondary. It's the pass rush. It's Kayvon. Our linebacker, Bobby O, he's not doing good. Oh, Saquon was hurt. Andrew Thomas not in the game. Oh, man, Ben Bredesen's injured. You look at Joshua Zito's not playing well. Mark Lewinsky is trash.
A long list of excuses.
Evan Neal has regressed, and all we needed was for him to play well. Just include the damn quarterback in that. Because right now, if you don't want to call him a problem, he's not the solution. He's not the solution right now. And they got to go back to the drawing board. And we cannot relinquish any of this blame on the coaches, man. These are horrible game plans. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. These are horrible game plans, man. I talked about this when I talk about that identity video, man. You're talking 3-4 straight games where you're neglecting Saquon Barkley, who's a top 5 running back in this league, bar none. Bar none. And then when everything's on the line for your season, you want to try to hand him the ball 8 times in a row, and then he ends up getting hurt.
You see the big difference here? Washington, what was it? 13 carries, right? New York Giants, 11 carries, right?
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles, 40.
40.
And they got the best quarterback of all 3 teams.
They do. They really do.
And they're still running the ball 40 times with the best quarterback in the NFC East. Maybe the best quarterback in the entire NFC.
Yeah, maybe in the conference.
And they're running the ball 40 times.
This is the guy that they told me was trash. This is the guy that they said he was a system quarterback, man.
I will tell you,
he's a system quarterback.
it was me, you, Entertainer, and Bad Dog when it was the 4 of us did a show. And I was talking about Jalen Hurts, and I remember this like it was yesterday. Bad Dog was like, I know these Oklahoma quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I watch all the Oklahoma games. Jalen Hurts can't do it. And look where Jalen Hurts is now. Right?
I think that most people are going to say that he's a product of the surroundings around him. But you know what's wild about that? They say that about Nick Sirianni, too. So you telling me, you see, I had to sit. You telling me that a team is that successful and their head coach, you know, the narrative was that Nick Sirianni was being carried last year, and their quarterback is being carried by the roster? When has that ever happened in the history of the game?
Oh, yeah. Let's just say, you know, for, you know, kicks and giggles, they're sitting at 3-0. They lost both of their coordinators. Both of their coordinators are gone. No, the offensive coordinator, new one. Defensive coordinator, new one. What's the 2 constants? Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni.
They find ways to win games ugly. And I think, you know, yeah, Dallas is the cream of the crop with the Eagles in the NFC East, right? But that's the difference. Dallas can't win them ugly games like that against decent competition. Dallas going to struggle. Dallas got to find a way that when they're down on the scoreboard to be able to protect the ball. Like I told y'all, and Dak Prescott's dating back to last season, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions when trailing. That's not a franchise winning quarterback either. You're not getting to the Super Bowl like that. And y'all know I don't like throw shade at Dak Prescott like that. When I did my top 10 rankings entering the season, Dak Prescott was my number 10 quarterback on that list, and I thought he was going to rise up because he had a down year last year. So far, the Dallas Cowboys have been winning games on the back of their defense and their offense just being just good.
What's Jalen Hurts' record as the starting quarterback?
I started off their segment with it. He's 20-1 in his last 21 starts.
I mean, like, there's going to be times when an offensive line, yes, he has a great offensive line.
That one loss
yes,
is with
yes,
y'all.
he has weapons, right? But you don't go 20-1 in a stretch, and it's because of your supporting cast. It's
right.
because of your offensive
Lamar
line,
Jackson was like that. You know,
because of the
80% winning percentage. He had the second highest winning percentage in the entire NFL since he's been in the league, second to Patrick Mahomes. And people still saying like, oh, man, that dude's not a quarterback.
Do you know how hard it is to win in the NFL? Like,
yeah.
Why do you think there's only been one team ever in the history to never lose a game? One.
And they did it in a short season.
One. That's it.
Let's not forget it. You know, it's 13 game season, man. 13 game season. I'm sure that helped him out. And speaking of what you just said about like how hard it is to win in the NFL, I had a homie hit me up who's been watching us, and he don't be that active in the chat, right? But he hit me up and he gave me some numbers. I'm trying to find them right now. Oh man, it showed you every team's winning percentage.
Oh, and they broke it down like baseball.
They broke it down like baseball.
And
the New York Giants in our division, we were the worst one in
awesome.
our division.
Yeah.
Let me see if I put them in the Giant overreaction notes.
It's crazy because it's almost all of them, like because I'm a baseball guy, so almost all of them, it's like the second place team is like 30 games behind them, except for one division.
I should upload it. I just found it and I should upload it. We got a little bit of time.
I thought that was so brilliant, like just a very interesting way to look at it. You know, because I mean, they literally did it exactly how like a baseball standing sheet looks too. Like it's incredible, very well done. It was quite fascinating how bad.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna chop it up. So it's the homie at Jay Kuda who put this together on Twitter, and I love numbers like this. These kind of numbers, man. Like you're not gonna get this unless somebody actually does the real research to be able to bring this stuff to the table. And let me just upload it here. It'll just take a couple of seconds, and then I got one more question, and we can round out this podcast. Shout out to all 90 of y'all in the building right now, too, man, rocking with us. This was definitely a big vibe on this show today, man. I think a lot of frustrations from the three teams that lost in the NFC East this week. And, you know, the fan base is definitely struggling with this, man. It's like, can't keep watching our teams continuously lose like this. So go ahead and make your stream full screen over there, and you can take a look at this. And I'll let me peek over here so y'all can, you know, see this beautiful face, right? So NFL teams records in their last 162 regular season games. And he even put like MLB standings right there. Look at the Giants, man. The winning percentage is so low. We're at the bottom of the NFC East.
You guys are 32 and a half games back.
32 and a half games back. The Eagles are 1.5 games back for the Dallas Cowboys.
What's crazy here is, so 162 games, that's basically 10 years, give or take, right? You would think, as bad as the Washington Commanders have been under Dan Snyder, that there is no way that we were not below the New York Giants. That's
it goes to show you, man, the Giants, outside of that 2016 season and outside of last season, we've been bad, man. We've been extremely, extremely bad as a football team, and we have just these 1-2 little seasons here or there to be able to show for it. You know, so I know a lot of people, they were like, you know, my first video of the season, right? You remember I said a lot of people in this fan base wanted to move on and reset the rookie clock. I talked about, you know, they didn't want to sign Daniel Jones. And then I said, I'm willing to sit here and admit to y'all that was my feelings going into the season, right? And I'm not going to run away from none of my takes. I don't plan to be correct on every one of my takes. And this is why I think it's so silly when you see people on social media attacking like analysts on TV, like he's flip-flopping, you clown, right? It's like, what do you expect people to do when they get more data? Yeah. Sit there and die on a stupid hill that doesn't make any sense anymore? You think I'm going to sit up here 3 weeks into the season, entering week 4, talking about, oh man, no, Justin Fields is going to turn it around, Beard. You think I'm going to do that?
You gave him 3 weeks.
I gave him 3 weeks.
Yeah.
He's going to the bench on my fantasy league. He's playing horrible football. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, no, I'm dying on that mountain, man. Justin Fields, okay?
That's why
I wanted to show them that tape from Joshua Dobbs in the beginning, right? Justin Fields got all the physical skill sets in the world to be a great quarterback. He don't got the little nuances like that. The footwork, hitting the back foot, being able to read defenses, knowing pre-snap, man, I'm about to go over there. Let me get ready for this. I see they got one safety high. I know exactly where I'm going to go with this ball when all's said and done. Fields can't read the field, right? Those are the nuances that we don't see. And I'm enamored by the quality of his play when he's making plays. I go, God, You see that run against the Green Bay Packers, man, 80 yards going right up the field, bro. The Detroit Lions, he's going right down the field on him. He's got great throws to Darnell Mooney last year. You think he puts together some weapons around him and he might be able to do some things. That boy cannot read a defense. That's going to be a problem moving forward. Now, we don't quite have a situation like that, obviously, but I'm just bringing that up to show you that we can't be right all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be right all the time. I want truth, man. I want truth. I don't want to be right all the time. Just make it right. Tell me what it is now. That's what I try to do and try to assess things. I always tell the Beard this. I'm like, look, if you ever got a take, right, support it with factual evidence that speaks towards that take right now. Don't just go on a limb and just be like, hey, I just feel like this today. I looked at this kid, he made plays. I'm feeling like this, right? And we both try to bring y'all the best kind of assessment that we can from week to week to week. And I see people, they try to pull old clips from our show and be like, you said this back then. Well, yeah, now I'm changing my mind. Obviously, I'm not going to sit there and die on that hill.
I had to come around on Brock Purdy, and I came out and admitted it and said, I think I might have been wrong when it comes to Brock Purdy. I was like,
and you still got to leave some room there because he's still a young quarterback.
Exactly.
He could go completely south, right?
But
we don't know.
It's still, important to see what's in front of you. Okay.
Right.
Like sometimes people want to put blinders on and they only want to see certain things. They only want to see what benefits their argument. The whole purpose of debating and stuff like that is to open your eyes to things that A, you may not know, or B, that are just valid points that you may have known, but you kind of just put aside because we were in a one lane sort of thinking atmosphere.
To me, that's the best part of a debate, right? Is what the other person brings to the table to support their argument. So
it's
invaluable. If you come up here on Awthentik and The Beard, I promise you, the nuggets that I drop for y'all during a Giants segment, especially, you're not hearing that stuff on other channels. I promise you that. And I'm not sitting here patting myself on the back, but I do the research, man. And I'm trying to make this an original show, trying to bring y'all numbers that make you go, And a lot of people have been telling us this in the chat. Shout out to the gang. Like, you see some of these comments, some of the new people that pull up and they're subscribers of this channel, they go, yo, y'all are making me see the opposite side with more clarity. Like, that's what I want to bring. I'm not just trying to be up here and just be a hater on our quarterback or any player on this roster. I'm just trying to present an argument for y'all of why I see that Daniel Jones is just a tick above average quarterback. And I've been saying that now for 2 seasons.
And that can change. He still has time this year. But I think
14 games.
That 36-game stretch is a very eye-opening experience. And I think I saw at least 3 or 4 people in the chat say that stat alone has made them rethink some things.
Man, that stat right there is ridiculous, man. And I've been on that consecutive numbers, consecutive games, multiple passing touchdowns. The nugget I brought y'all a couple of weeks ago, 300-yard games. Daniel had 3 in the past season and a half. 2 of them in losses. 1 of them in a blowout game here pretty much at the half against the Arizona Cardinals, and he just flicks the switch, and he's putting up huge, huge numbers. So I got to assess it for what I see. And this is the thing. This is where I'm going to leave the Daniel Jones segment here. I've said that he's an above-average quarterback throughout. And right now, I don't think he's even playing above-average ball. I think he's playing average ball right now.
Yeah, and I'd take it a further step further and say he's playing below-average football right now. He's in the bottom third of the league as far as quarterbacks and the way they've played through 3 games. Big shout out to New York Giant Mason with a $4.99 say super chat. Says, tell your wife she can't change her mind. Hey, let me know how that goes for you.
Shout out NYG Mason, man. Appreciate you supporting the channel, my brother. That means a lot, man. We up here trying to give you all the goods, man. So, Beard, I got one more question for you. It definitely pertains to my team and your team. You probably know where I'm going with this one, especially after that segment. Chat, you know what I want to do here? Let me see if I can
get the graphics department on a poll department. Paging the poll department.
I'm about to get the poll department in here because I want to know how they feel about this one. Let's see if we can get this done in a timely fashion. I'll pull up the questions so y'all can get to thinking about it a little bit here one time. So, with the way you've seen through 3 weeks of football here, answer this one for me. After 3 weeks of football, which NFC East team is in the most trouble? We saw Dallas lose a game. We saw Washington get socks blown into the whole next duplex.
Just a stumble. Remember?
Just to stumble. Yeah, me and the Beard had a little. He was like, "Yeah, I want to put like the 3 teams stumbled this week." I was like, "Bro, that wasn't no stumble. That was some ass kickings we had. We got to change that
Fall flat
up."
on your face.
That was a fall flat. So, Chad, I'm gonna put the poll up here. Let me just get right to it right here. Let me see. Let's see. Hopefully, I'm logged into the right account here. All right.
So let me
here we
ask
go.
you this. What are we thinking? What are we defining as most trouble? Like, as far as not making the postseason, or like long term?
I'm gonna leave that up to you.
This is tough for me. I mean, you guys know where I'm going, right? It's got to be the Dallas Cowboys. It's like, I'm just playing with you.
I mean, you got to consider them. You got to consider them, right?
I mean, I think that would be like the cliche overreaction thing to choose because
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, they lost to the Arizona Cardinals.
Season's over. We did that to them in 2 weeks when Dak Prescott got hurt last year.
Yeah. I still think it's tough for me. It's a coin flip, obviously. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna say, in regards of making the playoffs, I think the Washington Commanders are in the most trouble right now.
Surprising. I like that. I thought you were definitely going to say the New York Giants. I mean, you guys have at least put up some offensive output, you know?
But, yeah, against a team that just allowed another team to score 70 points on them. You know,
That's true.
so it's like
that is very. Yeah, that's a great point.
I just think that I don't want to set my expectations too high like I was at with the beginning of the season with the Commanders. And I think once again to just bring things back full circle, the humbling of that loss. I think that there's gonna be too much inconsistency in our game to game basis that's gonna not allow me to think that we're in the most trouble. It's easy to go to the Giants, but I'm not saying that the Commanders can't make the playoffs. I still think we're gonna go 10-7, but I would be lying if I didn't think we were in the most trouble. The Giants are right there with us. They're a half game behind us in the most trouble category. Okay,
this is an interesting take right here from TPJ second generation. No one is in trouble, so zero trouble across the NFC East, which that I cannot agree with that. The Cowboys do cowboy things. I guess that's a when it counts. The Commanders are just the Commanders. I mean, the Giants look worse than both these teams you mentioned in the chat here. I'm going New York Giants all the way because when we had stability last year with a roster that wasn't that great, right? And you know how I like to do my Bandersnatch thing, right? You got this, no one is in trouble, and then you got this one right here. Come on, guys. Are we really having this discussion? We know who the worst team is. And that's real people. You know you're going to keep it real out here one time. But the thing about the Giants, right, is when we struggled and we had no identity for real on offense outside of Saquon Barkley last year and Daniel Jones running off of that, the defense was like, okay, right? This year, the defense looks terrible so far. You look at the games, man. You got the Cardinals putting up 20 in the first half, 40 from the Cowboys. The San Francisco 49ers put up 30. We're getting dog-walked on a religious basis, right? And the offense has regressed.
Yeah, the discrepancy in how bad the offense is and how bad the defense is as far as points allowed. I think, I think we have to change from the Commanders to the Giants.
No interceptions, bro. No interceptions through 3 games.
0 touchdowns in the first half.
0 touchdowns in the first half. Okay, you saw the outscored. I think it was 68-6.
You guys got a sack finally, though.
We got some sacks in the last game. Kayvon Thibodeau got to the quarterback. I think Leonard Williams might have got to the quarterback once. Somebody else. We had 2 sacks last game, I believe. But when you just look at this whole team, right? This pass attack they talked about all offseason is not working. Our coaching staff looks in over their head right now, okay? They're not making the adjustments first half, first quarter to second quarter, second half, none of that. It's just been bad outside of the Arizona Cardinals 2 quarters, right? We're a bad football team right now. Yo, the only team that I can say confidently I think looks worse than the New York Giants in the entire football league right now. Chicago Bears.
Yeah, Bears, Broncos.
I don't know if the Broncos look worse than us. You got to understand, we got to be 40-0. They went up against the Miami Dolphins. We got beat 40-0 against the Cowboys. And the Cardinals just beat them.
Yeah, but the Dolphins scored 70 points, bro.
Hey, they're a juggernaut offense, bro.
But nobody scored 70 points in 70 years.
Listen, I understand that, right? It's in one game. The
They're
Denver Broncos
0-3.
The Denver Broncos went out there against y'all and put up 33 points.
Yeah, and we're not.
The New York Giants have no touchdowns in the first half. I understand everything you're saying about that 70 points.
Yeah.
Do the Denver Broncos really look worse than the Giants right now? Just analyze it with your eyes, what you saw on offense from them in that first game against y'all.
Yeah.
Or second game against y'all. Who they played week 1? It was a low-scoring game, I remember.
The Raiders,
week 1.
they lost to the Raiders
By 1 point.
17-16.
Right. Okay, they didn't look great in that game. Obviously, offensively in the second half, they looked bad in that game too. But they still managed to put up points against y'all. And even in a game where the Miami Dolphins did score 70, what did they have, like 20?
20. It's the way they scored the 72, though. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. And that's
It was every play for them was a touchdown, it felt like.
Bruh, I mean, there's this one screenshot, and it's like 7
This
Denver
is how I
Broncos
ask you.
on
This
the
is how I
floor.
ask you to get so I can get a real final answer from you. I'll see if you, because you could give a final answer that says the Giants worse than the Broncos, right? Just looking at the first 3 weeks of the season, right? Would you rather be the Broncos right now, or would you rather be the New York Giants?
Damn. I'd.
Because that 70's bad. I don't know if I want to be a part of that fan base, bro, that had 70 points scored on you, right? But Miami is looking really good.
Yeah.
First half point differential, the New York Giants are in last place.
I couldn't tell you, but right, all right, that right there is that's what made me flip flop from the Commanders to the Giants, and so I think I would say if you have the worst point differential in the National Football League, then you're bad.
Is there anybody else that we might be missing? You got the Carolina Panthers. I don't think we've looked as bad as them, and they had C.J. Stroud out for a game. The Minnesota Vikings are 0-3, but they have not looked as bad.
No.
You won that battle, too, of the 0-2s. You got that.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert, that was a good one. I like that. Kudos to you. You get one of these for that. That's it.
I think, listen, you know what those craziest? What were those power rankings? The Giants were in the power rankings last week?
Oh, Chris Sims had us at 11, 12.
All right, let's pick. They gotta be like 26 now, right?
They got to be 30th. At least 30th, bro. I'm not like it's funny, right? But I'm not trying to be
I
that
know
funny,
you're not.
right?
I know you're not. But in
Like,
my
it's
mind,
funny, though.
I'm thinking about how people are going to react to that. Oh, he's Awthentic's a hater.
Yeah, they're gonna call me a hater. I don't care. I don't care, man. I don't call me whatever the hell you want to call me. Yo, we got people out here making fake authentic accounts and stuff now, bro. I'm enjoying this. I'm gonna keep it real with you.
I mean,
I'm
look,
enjoying
you've made
this.
it. You've made it.
You know me. You remember how the rap career was. Take a bow. You remember these records, right? I'm excited when the smoke is coming my way. I walk right towards it.
You're a firefighter.
Yes, man. I'm
That
right in the smoke.
flannel is flame resistant for those of you that don't know.
Listen, man, with the hat to match. All right? the hard, literally. Okay, that's what we're going through right now. That's
But
what
we're gonna go. New York Giants are in the most trouble. New York Giants are worse than the Denver Broncos, and got to get together, Giants.
Definitely got to get together. Let me end this poll real quick so we can get some final numbers on the poll.
Okay. This is a good one.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Do they, though?
Yeah.
They beat the team that just dog walked y'all with Zach Wilson at quarterback. We don't have a performance like that. Do they, though? It's a great one. Who was it that brought that up?
Eagles Nation.
Eagles Nation, that's a great one. I'm so glad you brought the Jets because Zach
I think
Wilson
that's closer. That's closer than the Broncos.
Closer than the
Giants.
Broncos. I'll give you that. Because the last two games, they've looked awful. They brought in Trevor Siemian today to try out for quarterback. That might work out. That might help them out a little bit. I would have went and been like, can we get Mike White back? Because Mike White was looking all right. I still can't get a Jets.
Is Zach Wilson done?
I don't know, man. I hope not, because he has tools. You got to think, man, this dude went into the year thinking like, man, I'm going to be the backup. I'm going to learn a lot from Aaron Rodgers, and then maybe next year, 2 years from now, I'll be able to take over. And they just threw him to the Wolves week 2 after 4 snaps. 4 snaps for Aaron Rodgers, and Zach Wilson's like Johnny Moxon on the bench, like reading a book, and now he's got to go in the game and play football.
As a Dallas Cowboys fan, do you think they would have been more upset losing to the New York Jets or the Arizona Cardinals loss?
As a Dallas fan going up against those two teams?
Yeah, like they
Yeah, I mean-
say they like you were going to lose one of those
Nah.
games. So they did.
The
Do you
Cardinals. The Cardinals loss is worse for the Dallas Cowboys because that's a team that's not supposed to be in the mix right now. The Jets have pieces on
least
defense
the
to be able to slow you
defense.
down a little
Yeah.
bit. They can run the rock. They haven't committed to it, but they do have running backs. You know, their offensive line's not that great. They got some wide receiver weapons out there. They should be able to at least move the ball. Yeah, so for Dallas, for me, I can't say that. It's disheartening right now, bro. It's really disheartening. And the Jets, they do got that lone win, so I got to put them over the Giants. And here's, you know, I almost forgot about this thought when you brought up that question. When you talked about the Dallas Cowboys, I honestly think no one's talking about this either. I guarantee you this is probably going to be the first time you hear this. The Jets should have maybe went out there and tried to trade for Cooper Rush.
I mean, they did sign Trey Lance. I mean, that's a good one. I think everybody's so focused on the big name quarterbacks that they don't really think about that because you know it's like all over. Like people are running with my Kirk Cousins sort of situation.
Loving that Kirk Cousins
presented.
situation right now.
And nobody's really talked about that. Cooper Rush is definitely capable.
Cooper Rush will be perfect. I'm telling you. Run the rock a lot, get rid of the ball, quick passing game. You know he can get those fade routes to Garrett Wilson if you get the one-on-one matchup. I think Cooper Rush is the guy. Nobody thought about that one yet, though, I bet.
I think it's weird they brought in Trevor Siemian. Like, I thought they maybe would have brought in Colt McCoy if they're going to bring in a guy like that.
You would go Colt McCoy over Trevor Siemian?
I think so.
Oh, hell no. Not with a bad offensive line, bro. No way. Trevor Siemian's like 6'5". He's a taller stature quarterback, and he's proven he could do some things in this league.
Yeah,
He's
he had
like,
a couple of good games with the Saints.
Yeah, he's had some
last
good
year.
games.
Yeah.
And then he was with the Broncos for some years where he played all right too. You know,
Yeah.
so I think Trevor Siemian's a better option than Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy, like you might as well go with Zach Wilson, I think, if you're gonna go Colt McCoy.
It's tough, man. It's tough. The Jets got it bad too, though, man. Like think about
The Jets
You
got
like,
it bad. I
Aaron
think it's gonna
Rodgers,
get worse for
we
the
winning the
Jets.
Super Bowl.
4 plays in, bro. That hurt me because you know I was very invested in Hard Knocks, man, and like
Yeah.
the cinematography's so good and the storytelling's so good. And now a lot of these young players that I was like looking at the Jets like, man, I'm kind of rooting for y'all to get there in the AFC, man. Like, you know, maybe y'all can make a playoff run. You know, the kid Jason Brownlee, I'm super high on Jason Brownlee as a undrafted free agent. And his homeboy, Xavier Gibson, out there. You know, I was high on these kids. Their stories are really good. Both undrafted, made the roster. They're best friends. And now you have a struggling quarterback out there that can't get neither one of them the ball. It's extremely unfortunate, man. And, you know, Aaron Rodgers says he'll be back, but I don't know. I would give you the push on the Jets possibly, and I would maybe give you the push on the Broncos as well. But that's bad company to be in with the New York Giants. The poll came in. Which NFC East team is in the most trouble? What team you think is in last? Obviously, Philadelphia Eagles. 2% said the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know who the hell that 2% is. Y'all some haters.
That's the same person. Whoever the person was who said that if Jalen Hurts was on the Giants, he wouldn't be making $50 million. And that person voted for the Eagles.
That's that person for sure. And then you had 10% pick the Cowboys, 23% pick the Commanders, 63% overwhelmingly said the New York Giants are in the most trouble.
Listen. Those are the Giants fans that we enjoy. Not because you're picking your team that's saying you're in most trouble, but because you guys are being honest with the situation. And we appreciate that.
Realist, man. Y'all know what it is. The realist out here. Man. Good show, Beard.
That was a good one.
It's a good show, man. It's a good one. For all y'all on the replay, I hope y'all enjoy this one, man. This one, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, like my man Carl Banks would say. Come check us out, because that was a vibe. The Commanders section and the Giants section from this show, we had to clip that one up. Put that up on the internet for y'all short content viewers out there. Y'all can check that out because some of this stuff is just, it's unacceptable and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The New York Giants are going into week 4 trying to figure out how to get our first half touchdown. Still.
That's rough.
It's rough, bro. Extremely rough, man. Definitely appreciate all of y'all sticking through this show almost 2 hours, man, rocking with us, man. It flew by for me. Like, there's just so much to talk about this week, and Monday cannot get here any faster, so I can just have some new football to talk about.
Oh, my God. That's like the longest
Thursday to Monday.
Stretch.
Thursday to Monday, man. It was it feels like it's 2 weeks ago now. It really does. Like, I'm saying some of the numbers, and I'm kind of like, am I right on this? Like, I feel like this was week 2. It's week 3. So Giants got extreme rest to get things together. Washington's going to have to find a way to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to stop these offenses, man, because they putting up numbers on y'all. That's 2 weeks in a row the teams have scored over 30 on y'all. For the New York Giants, I think it's going to take us getting to score to 30. Shout out my man Dan Cam. He was out here in these spaces trying to rep, saying, hey, man, look, the only way the New York Giants are going to go out here and win games is if they score points. Can't go out here and not get the ball in the end zone. Dave Gettleman had that interview. We talked about it, man. You need touchdown makers. Where are the New York Giants going to find them touchdown makers? And then the Dallas Cowboys, you know, in a game that a lot of people looked at as a trap game, they definitely fell for the trap, man. They saw the cheese and they went right to that mouse trap and got caught up. And Awthentik woke up in the morning and had to find the mouse on the trap and had to clean him up, put him in a bag and all that stuff, bro. Take him out to the trash. RIP to the mouse, right? It's tough. So 3 of the teams in the NFC East got to go back to the drawing board. And the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni came out today and he said, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. So don't expect the Philadelphia Eagles to regress. We all got to get better within this division to try to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles. Beard, any last words before we get the fam up out of here?
No, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We appreciate all the love and all the support. Make sure you guys are tuning in on Thursday. We'll have some, shout out Vintage Sport Flips. If you guys aren't following him, he sent us something else to give away.
He sent something else
this week, yeah. So to
You wanna
add
show
to
it?
the pile of giveaways. I haven't even unwrapped it yet.
Hasn't even unwrapped it yet. I know that's going to be a great
So
one.
make
Y'all
sure you guys are here on Thursday night.
Definitely. Make sure you're here on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've been giving away gifts during our trivia segment. Shout out to the Beard and Over to Your Sports. Shout out to Vintage Flip Sports for sponsoring some stuff for the channel so y'all can get these goods. You ain't even got to do no raffle, no super chats, no none of that. Just show up, bring your thinking cap, try to answer one of these trivia questions right, and you could leave with some great memorabilia. Again, shout out to all of y'all for tuning in, man. Shout out to the gang one time. Y'all know what it is, man. New York Giants till that casket dips. And y'all know how we end every show over here, man, on Awthentik and The Beard. Keep raising that bar. Keep living those dreams. Keep ignoring all that hate. Universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound, man. Black and white, we ain't got no room for that. Rest in peace to the podcast GOAT, my man Combat Jack. And hey, we'll see y'all on Thursday, man. Until then, tell a friend to come check out this show, man. Awthentik and The Beard got something real nice going on over here.
Peace.
Peace.